What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A Repeatedly's E3 Recap 2018. Justin Tomasello here with Christopher Gold.
Featuring musical guest Andrew WK.
He's not coming on until a little bit later. And joining us today is a very special guest and Kingdom Hearts lover, Louis Tomasello.
Woo!
Hey, it's nice to be here again.
All right, now I did laugh at you during your email a couple of weeks ago, but in my face because they showed a whole bunch of Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff this year, and of course we'll get to that so you can have your moment in the sun with Goofy and Donald.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a moment in the sun, more like a moment in the dirt.
Hey, well, yeah, I feel like people were going into this E3 and they're like, man, I sure hope, I wish they would show off something about Kingdom Hearts 3, and the monkey's paw just closes. Like, you wanted it, you got it.
Exactly. That was the best analogy.
So if you're new to the show, if you missed how we did the recap last year, basically how it works is we go through all the conferences in order, and we're not going to touch on every game, but in each one we talk about some of the games that impressed us and wowed us, and some that we maybe were not so thrilled about. So there's a lot of content to get to. I say we just hop right into it. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm ready to roll. Yeah, I mean, I'm still hopped up on the hype from E3 this year. I want to talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. All right. So, with that being said, the very first conference was on Saturday, and that was of fan favorite EA. They had a lot to show off. Chris, why don't you start with what most wowed you at the EA conference?
Okay, so what wowed me most about EA is probably not a whole lot. There were a couple of games that they showed off that really, really impressed me. Both of them indie titles. One of them was that Sea of Solitude game, where it looks like it's a cel-shaded type experience, but you're this woman and you're potentially fighting your own personal demons and you're sailing on a boat. It kind of looks like a purpley version of Venice, almost, the location where you're traveling around.
Yeah, purpley. Yeah, it's a good description.
I mean, it does. It looks like a purple Venice. And you're sailing on the boat, and yeah, you're just trying to figure out like what's ailing you. The theme reminds me a lot of something like Celeste. Came out a couple months ago, where you're the main character, you're fighting your own personal demons. It's probably going to deal with a lot of different mental health issues. I think it looks really cool. It was one of the very few indie titles that EA showed off at their conference, and honestly, it was one of the only ones that really wowed me. Sea of Solitude stands out for me just because, like, everything else that EA was showing was just like, oh, here's more Battlefield 5, here's FIFA, we're going to do Battle Royale this and Battle Royale that, we're going to follow the crowd. And, oh, by the way, here's this neat little indie title where you're fighting, you're dealing with your own issues. So I thought that looked really cool. Lewis, what did you think of EA's conference?
I thought it was their most apologetic conference out of all of them. Like, this is the first.
That's a good point.
This is the first time they were like, "We're sorry for being EA."
Yeah, the Battlefront guy came out and was like, "Hey, yeah, so we're still working on Battlefront, and we didn't get off on the best foot with the game."
Yeah, and then
you know what? Like, I respect that, coming out and say, "Hey, look, we really messed up."
Yeah.
But if they didn't say that, that probably would have been a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they pretty much set out a whole entire conference saying we're giving the power back to the player and everything's gonna be purely cosmetic. But it was just like, I think my favorite part was probably just Unwound too. I didn't think that game was popular, and then that they made the
Oh,
sequel.
Unravel?
Yeah,
you
Unravel
mean?
2.
Got you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they made a sequel, and it looks way better than the original.
Did either of you play the first one?
No.
I didn't even hear of the first one, let alone play it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one completely passed me by.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that came out like around the same time that Yarn Yoshi was announced, and everyone was like, "Oh, like EA's ripping off Yarn Yoshi," but like they were both in development like way before they were shown, so no one ripped off anybody.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What was your impression on it, Justin?
Yeah, I'm with both you guys. I think the two indie games were the highlight. Unravel 2 looks a lot of fun. Like a lot of teamwork involved, of just those cooperative platforming mechanics, and like I loved like the giant like animals that were chasing them. Like there's a part where they showed like a giant turkey is like about to eat them, and then you have to kind of like use your intertwined string to like help the other person out. It looks like a lot of fun, like a really interesting co-op experience. And Sea of Solitude I thought also looked really cool. I love the art style. I really loved how passionate the woman was that was explaining the game. She came off a little nervous in the beginning, but then like she kind of found her groove, and like you could really see, just how much that the whole experience was like meaning to her and the team. However, I was a little concerned because when they showed the gameplay footage, it was just like the monster creature like walking around like and nothing else. Like I'm still confused how that game works and what you do in it. I wonder if it's just like mainly like a story kind of experience, but even if that's so, like it looks really nice and could be like a really inspiring game to check out. So yeah, that does look pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, mostly like you were saying, Lois, there's a lot of apologizing, but it was also a lot of apologizing for things that EA themselves, they shot themselves in the foot. And a lot of the stuff, too, that they were hyping up for this game, like they were talking about, they've got new content for Battlefront, and they've got new stuff for Battlefield, and it's like, and no loot boxes. And that's like, that was supposed to be like everyone clap, hey, applaud that. But they're the ones who introduced the loot boxes in the first place.
Yeah, and then they continued to push the loot boxes during that because as soon as they said no loot boxes, they were like, "Oh, everything's cosmetic, and you can randomly get a banner or a costume in Anthem or something like that." So it's just the same thing.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. That aside, I think Battlefield 5 actually looked fantastic. DICE, they do such an awesome job with their shooters. And we're a little biased here because like shooting games and sport games aren't really our bag, but for the most part, I think that game looked fantastic. I think it's gonna sell like 1 billion copies.
Oh yeah, it always does.
Yeah,
that was the game I was most excited to see, but then they didn't show really anything, and I was disappointed. So,
yeah, they had mentioned there's going to be actually like a pretty in-depth single-player campaign that I'm actually interested in, and I don't remember if they showed that off like outside of the conference or not. I remember they said they were going to, but I might have missed that.
Yeah, I don't think they had a booth for people to play their game. It was just the demo. Oh, it was just the trailer, and then the single-player trailers.
Yeah, and then of course they ended the conference with their biggest game, Anthem, that got a release date. It's coming out in February 2019. What do you guys think of Anthem?
BioWare, what are you doing? I'm just so disappointed.
All right, what disappoints you?
I think it's just the fact that it looks like a Destiny clone. It's just really too similar.
Yeah.
It just feels like EA's got a thumb on BioWare's creativity nowadays.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The game reminds me way too much of Destiny. It looks like you're... I saw this description online. It looks like you're a bunch of Iron Men flying around in a Destiny game. And, I mean... And this, on one hand, I mean, that's kind of cool. Like being Iron Man and flying around, like that's pretty cool. And I mean, don't forget, like we're like, oh, it looks like Destiny. Destiny 2 was a fun game. Like we had a lot of fun
It was
playing
our
Destiny.
third best game of the year, I think, right?
Oh yeah. Like it ranked very highly in our game of the year list last year for a good reason. It was a lot of fun. It's just a shame that with all those support issues and all those controversies that came out, that kind of derailed the game a little bit towards the end. But even then, the gameplay was solid. Like it felt great to run around and shoot people and just engage in different combat. Like it was fun. But on the same token, like you kind of want Anthem to do something different. It feels like they're just like, oh, here's our competitor to Destiny 2. And it's like, oh, cool, well, what differentiates it? And BioWare with a big grin on their face is like, absolutely nothing. And and it's just like, okay, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, we have Destiny 2 already. We've played Destiny 2. We've seen what it looks like. And I'm not seeing a whole lot different from Anthem to really excite me or get me all hyped up for the game. I mean, we still got plenty of time between now and February to get hyped for the game and get excited. Yeah, I mean, if anyone else, if you guys decide to pick up Anthem and play it, I might give it a shot at that point. But right now, that's a title that I just really kind of would let pass by.
Yeah. You know, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but also we have to remember that like they showed us maybe 10 minutes of the game in total. Like it's kind of hard to get an impression of everything that's going on in that game. So it maybe once that comes out, when we get closer to the date, we'll start to see more modes or like whatever, changes that they have that does differentiate them from Destiny 2. But it's kind of like a wait and see kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, it's just I feel like it's gonna be too much like Mass Effect 2, where they tried to really cut down on the RPG elements that BioWare is known for, and stick to straight like action in order to engage more people into it, and that didn't work out as well. So, but I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt until it release and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's BioWare making the game. I mean, you cannot deny their pedigree. Like, yes, they're being published by EA now, and that's always a concern. But BioWare is and always has been a solid developer. Yeah, there were issues with Mass Effect Andromeda, but you can't judge the whole dev team by one misfire. And even then,
there was a lot to that.
Yeah, even then, like there was there are people out there who are like, yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda wasn't that bad. Like, it had missteps, but, the game does have its defenders. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence, but I'm still leaning away from actually picking up Anthem. Mm-hmm. How did you guys like the that Command and Conquer mobile game? And they were literally having they were having people announce the game, like doing a quote unquote shoutcast, like, oh, they're attacking this position, and now he's like getting to the missiles and he's firing, and he's taking the position, and it was. I watched that conference live, and I was actually texting with Zool as we were watching the conference, and we were like, man, this is just the cringiest thing I've ever seen. Like, EA is just getting this like bad E3 moment out of the way early. It was it was bad.
I can't stand like the whole shoutcasting thing, and every E3 they try to incorporate that some way, and like it never goes over well. Like, I mean, I don't know how they don't realize that that's just more of a cringe-worthy, laughable thing than like a cool way to present a game. Yeah. Well, honestly, my honest opinion of that though, I kind of thought the mobile game might be kind of neat because I liked how simple it was, and like by the end of that demo, like I knew how the game worked. Like I was like, all right, I could play it if I wanted to. So I don't know, it might be pretty cool. I could just do without a guy screaming in my ear the whole time.
Yeah, I think we all could. I felt bad though. That crowd, for the most part, was just really, really dead. Like, even there are times where they're like, "Hey, no loot boxes." They would just kind of get like a smattering of applause
Yeah.
here and there. And that one, the host, the woman Andrea Renee.
Yeah.
She does a podcast, What's Good Games, a really good podcast. And so I was like, oh, I kind of know what to expect from her. Like, she had a lot of energy, and that energy works great on a podcast in that scenario. But man, she was trying and trying to
Oh,
get
yeah.
that crowd hyped, and it was just falling flat, like every step of the way. I don't think that's necessarily on her. It's just that EA just didn't have a lot out there to excite anybody.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh, like, yeah, it was an absolute no-win situation there.
It's funny you brought that up because I just remembered last year, well, every year really, we make fun of like when a game is announced and it's just like a guy saying, "Oh yeah, we're working on this game and it's gonna be great." And
Yeah, I
at
know where you're
EA, yeah, during the EA conference, she sat down with I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the lead director of the new Star Wars game by EA. And it was the most awkward, ridiculous, useless conversation where she's like, "Oh, so you're working on this game, right?" He's like, "Oh yeah, and we have a name for it. It's called Star Wars Last Jedi or whatever." And then they're like, "Oh, what else can you tell us?" And he's like, "It's a Star Wars game, and we're working on it, and yeah, please look forward to it." And like that was it.
I forgot about that. It was like on this same level, maybe even probably a little bit better than last year when Nintendo had the guy in his room and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're working on a Pokemon game," and that was it.
Oh man, yep. So that was pretty great.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on EA before we move on to Microsoft?
Nah, nothing from me.
Yeah. So overall, not great, right?
Nah, not
Nothing
really.
No.
special.
Yeah, very very bleh. Yeah, not a fan.
A soft opening to everything else that happened.
Okay.
Very
I
true.
can take that.
All right, so I mean, moving on up, the next conference that we had was Microsoft's conference, wasn't it?
Yep. So this
Yes.
is next day. This is Sunday. Opened with Microsoft, and they opened the show with a little teaser of a Halo game.
Yes, Halo Infinite.
And did we ever find out what that is?
We sure didn't. All we heard, I even looked it up afterwards, just to be sure, like, oh, maybe I missed something. And even write-ups afterwards were like, yeah, they're working on Halo Infinite. They're actually building a brand new engine for Halo Infinite. I don't have it in front of me. It's like the Slip Space engine, something like that. Yeah, don't check me on that. But it's a brand new engine, which is apparently supposed to hold like all the stuff that you can do in the new Halo game. And when pressed for, oh, well, what is this new stuff we could do in the Halo game? They 343 was like, we'll get back to you on that. So we don't even necessarily know what genre this game is supposed to be. I'm sure it might be first-person shooter. It could be real-time strategy. It could be Halo 76. So my that one prediction is not technically wrong yet.
Right.
Not technically.
Right.
But it does look like something new. But yeah, based on a name and a premise, are either of you guys really excited for it?
So to be honest, I actually missed that part of the conference, so I did not even see that trailer yet. I think new Halo is great, especially for Microsoft right now. Even in whatever form it's in. I don't think it'll be Halo 6, because if it was Halo 6, they would just say it was Halo 6. But I think it's something that they definitely need right now. And people love that franchise. They love Master Chief. So I think it was a great way to start the show.
Yeah, I agree. Any kind of Halo game to get Microsoft's fans hyped up is probably a good foot forward. I have no idea. I think I may have heard it was some kind of like open world Halo game, but I have no idea. But yeah, that was a good opening to start out with.
Okay, Lewis. We heard a quack. We heard a yuck.
Jeez.
We saw Kingdom Hearts 3.
I just want to point out too that Kingdom Hearts 3, they actually, believe it or not, they defied Press A repeatedly expectations and our long-standing policy and announced a release date for the game. Now, it's not even the fact that they announced the release date, because, I mean, let's face it, for all of our joking and all of our bullshit, they were always going to release the game. When and how they announced the game blows my mind to this day, because they actually announced it Sunday morning, Eastern Time, at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was just getting ready to go to bed, and I gave Twitter one final glance, and suddenly people were blowing up about, like, oh, January 29th. And I was like, what is this? And here, like, 5 minutes earlier, Square Enix announced the release date of January 29th at 1:30 in the morning Eastern Time on a Sunday.
Do we know if that's a worldwide release date?
I believe it is.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
That might have something to do with it. Maybe they just did it in Japan.
They need to be more considerate of us, okay? Eastern Time on the United States is the center of the world. They need to they need to cater to our needs and our desires, okay?
They actually announced it at the end of their symphony orchestra tour, and it was like at the last stop, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna show this trailer that's never been seen before," and they showed it to those people. And I was like, "That's the weirdest place to announce when you're gonna have your Kingdom Hearts game come out."
It's so very Square
Anything
Enix.
done by Square is weird now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, so joking aside, Lewis, I want to know your take. What did you think of the trailer? Are you still pumped? Are you going to be first in line January 29th, 2019?
Are we talking about all three of them now, or just the first one?
Oh, all the trailers? Okay, so just the one, I guess. No, you know what? No, we're not going to do it. We're talking about everything you saw of Kingdom Hearts this E3.
Yeah.
We're not coming back to this 3 different times.
Yeah, your ass is in the hot seat, Lewis.
It's fair enough. Well, I was excited for it. The world blew up when they saw Aqua had turned to the dark side.
Yeah, please explain that, okay? Because after the trailers came out, I saw this phrase everywhere, and theoretically this was a set of words, and theoretically it was in a sentence, but I didn't understand most of the words in this sentence. All I kept seeing were people saying, and I quote, "Aqua got Norted." What the fuck does that mean, Lewis? What does that mean? This has been driving me nuts.
Okay, all right, I'll explain it.
I think Chris just got Norted.
So, the main villain of the series his name is Xehanort. He is the first. He's got many different versions of himself, but his main version is Master Xehanort from Birth by Sleep, and the whole plot to this new game is that he's going around and creating a new evil organization that's all people with parts of himself within those characters. So he's trying to collect the 13 dark pieces of power and 7 light pieces of power in order to ignite this war, which will create the ultimate weapon in order to unlock Kingdom Hearts.
Cool.
And the phrase Norted means that a person got possessed by Xehanort, and now they're basically their heart is within darkness now. So Aqua being one of the most beloved characters in the whole series at the point, she had sacrificed herself in Birth by Sleep, and she was like lost within the realm of darkness. And for the longest time, people were thinking like, oh, she's fine. She's just gonna keep wandering there until someone goes in and gets her. Well, they're a little late now because now she's now she's Norded.
She's Norded. Man, all right. Oof, that's rough though. I mean, legit though, from a I guess from a storytelling perspective, from a fan's perspective, having one of the most beloved characters being forcibly turned to the dark side, that's a big deal. That's something. If I were a fan, I would be like, oh shit, that's crazy. I was just being out of the loop and seeing everyone inside that loop being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I was just very, very curious. So like, what the hell is going on over there?
It's like the equivalent of, say, I don't want to say Anakin, but say like
if Anakin Skywalker had turned to the dark side.
Nah, that was already like planned out. This is like if it was Qui-Gon Jinn or someone you didn't expect moved to the dark side.
It was like if Ron Weasley became one of Voldemort's supporters.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so back to the trailers. They showed a Pirates of the Caribbean world. They showed a Toy Story world. They showed a Monsters Inc. world, and the Monster Inc. renderings of Sora, Goofy, and Donald were like horrifying.
Yeah, I was kind of like watching the trailer really closely, and it's so weird how in the older games their faces and their characters were more expressive than they are now, and it baffles me. Like, here's this like really nice cell shaded engine, and they're really not taking advantage of it, unless I'm seeing it weirdly, and maybe it's just these are not actually cutscenes; these are just in-game scenarios, and we haven't actually seen a cutscene yet. But
right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. The game looked great. Like, Oh,
looked beautiful,
gorgeous. But yeah, I think I couldn't tell that either. Did they totally ditch the cell shading style and they're just doing straight 3D rendering, or I don't know. It was kind of hard to tell from the trailer.
I think they're still using it, but it's different for every world. Like if you see like the Toy Story parts, it's like it looks great because it fits that world. It's the same thing with like Monsters Inc. because they're different character models. But if you go to like just a normal world and look at like just their normal character models, it's a little bit like kind of encroaching on Uncanny Valley.
Right, yeah.
But they're always updating and changing it too. So if like you go back to an old trailer, you can see like how the cell shading is different from the old trailers to the new ones. So they're always like updating it at this point.
Yeah, but there you go. I know the release date got pushed back. What was it, like a month or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, but
2018 not confirmed anymore.
Yeah, just barely knocked out 2018. But hey, 2019, January 29th, Kingdom Hearts 3. I can't believe I'm saying this. Will be out. Yeah, I don't know, man. I am very happy for you. You'll be able to play.
Yeah, I think January 28th at 11:45 at night, they're going to announce that it's been delayed by another month.
Yeah,
oh, don't. It sounds so like it's gonna happen. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least they didn't announce it for February 2019, which all of a sudden, I mean, we'll get to this at the end, but holy shit, looks really crowded all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Let's move on here.
Back
what
to
do you got next, Chris?
We were back to Microsoft. Yeah, we kind of we started with Microsoft, then we went to Kingdom Hearts 3, and we're gonna jump back to Microsoft a little bit. And we have been talking about ever since we really started this podcast, Justin, how Xbox One didn't really appeal to us and didn't really have a lot to really grab us and wow us. Like the hardware looked great, but I think Zool was the one who said, the games, give us the games. Well,
Right.
at this conference, Microsoft gave us the games. They showed off a ton of different games at this conference, a lot of unique stuff. And honestly, I thought of the big three conferences, I thought they had probably the strongest conference
Yeah.
out of the three.
I could agree with that. And they didn't just show off games. They also announced that they bought 5 studios and are in the process of buying possibly some more. So they are setting up exclusives for them for the years to come, which I think is an excellent move on their part.
Oh yeah, one of the studios they brought up. I don't remember all of them, but I remember one of them was Ninja Theory. And that's a big get because Ninja Theory
Yeah.
is one of the better devs that are out there. So for them to snag them up and get their games as exclusive to Microsoft's consoles, I thought was a really really significant get for them. Um, yeah, there were a lot of games that they showed off that really excited me. They showed off a little bit more of Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh man.
Yeah, the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, which, oh man, that was just such a beautiful game. And Ori and the Will of the Wisps just looks like it's more of the same. Like, and it's perfect for me. Let me see. We had the announcement of that new From Software game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Yep.
Oh man, just my notes here that I wrote down as we were watching the conference, like I almost burned a hole through the page. I was writing so quick. They just announced so many different things. You've got, let's see, Forza Horizon 4 coming out in October. Metro Exodus comes out in the now fabled February 2019.
Right.
Let me see. And then we briefly got Todd Howard to come out to talk about Fallout 76 for a little bit.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll dive into that a little bit later during Bethesda's, but yeah, he did show off a little bit of it.
Yep. Oh man. Let me see. I'm just going right down the list here. So, we actually got a new announcement from Square Enix about not necessarily a follow-up. It's not necessarily like a sequel to Life is Strange, but it's sort of like it's in the same universe as Life is Strange. It's this game Captain Spirit. And
Right.
I have here written in the side, young boy, big imagination, which is pretty much the gist of Captain Spirit.
I did hear from Elena that that game, depending on how you play it, is going to greatly affect what's going to happen your playthrough of Life is Strange 2.
Oh wow.
Oh boy, that's actually going to be a free download coming out June 26th.
Oh man, that's really soon.
Yeah, that's very soon. So yeah, I'm excited to pick that up. It looks like you're this young boy. What would you say? Like maybe like 10 or 11 or so, and you're wearing like a cape and you're running around your room and you basically use your imagination to go on these different adventures. I mean, I don't know. It looks pretty cool. We're big fans of Don't Nod and the Life is Strange games, so I'm absolutely going to pick this game up and give it a try. Yeah, I think it looks really really interesting, and I didn't know that it affected how things would go in Life is Strange 2. That's very handy
That's
info.
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I got one for you guys to debate over. What about that anime fighting game that got announced?
Oh, Jump Force.
Yeah.
Jump Force. Finally, Lewis, you and I can settle once and for all who would win in a fight, Naruto from Naruto or Luffy from One Piece.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel about that.
Yeah, we can finally set it up. So, for anyone out there who doesn't know, Jump Force, as Justin said, it's an anime fighting game, pretty much. It gets its name from, in Japan, there's a weekly magazine called Shonen Jump, where a lot of the most famous anime gets released in its comic form, its manga form. And That magazine is famous for a lot of the major franchises that most people out there have heard of, like Dragon Ball Z, uh, One Piece. I think we're gonna get like some Death Note in there as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of the most famous anime is going to be featured in this game, and you can control these different characters, and you can fight them in all sorts of weird environments. And by weird, I mean normal for us, but in the anime world, it's just kind of weird. Like, we saw like Naruto and Luffy and Goku hanging out in like Times Square in New York City, and it was just a weird dichotomy because they're typical like cell shaded like drawn or whatever, but their environment is very realistic looking that they're fighting in.
I would even say they're pretty super realistic looking, and it's a little freaky, but at the same time, not bad. It's different. I would say the gameplay resembles a lot of like the newer like Naruto fighting games, like Ninja Storm Generations and all those games. But it's with mostly different characters from different Jump magazines, like you said. I would be excited to see maybe like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or even some like really minor Jump characters like thrown in there, like maybe Hunter x Hunter or something like that. But so far, all we know is like the major ones, which is One Piece, Dragon Ball, Death Note, and
Naruto. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like it'll be fun. It looks like a standard niche fighting game. You know, it's not going to appeal to everyone, but to anime fans, it could be very appealing. So yeah, I think it looks like it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, anime corner is over, and now I'd like to talk about. So they showed off a lot of indie games too, and one that really grabbed my attention was this game Tunic, that is being developed pretty much by one guy, Andrew Schulholter, I think his name is. And basically, it's a top-down, like isometric style adventure game where you play as this little fox character with a sword and shield, and it is heavily inspired, you could tell, by Legend of Zelda series. And I was watching a gameplay video of it. I wrote about it a little bit on the site, but basically it looks a lot like the original Legend of Zelda, where like the character is like he's going through the field, he's exploring an area, he's like breaking pots and stuff, and then he sees a cave and he goes into it, and then in the top left corner of the screen it says level 3 Fortress, like he just found like the third dungeon like you do in the original like Legend of Zelda game. And it's got this really cool like cartoony but also 3D, if that makes any sense, like visual style.
Right.
And the combat looks like a lot of fun. It actually looks a little tough. Like in the video I was watching, the guy that was playing died like a lot. Like he was getting hit by these big enemies that took away like pretty much all of his health. It's still a ways out though, unfortunately. It's not doesn't have a release date yet. But one of its publishers is the company Finji, and Finji also helped publish Night in the Woods. So they got a great taste for games as well, and I'm really excited for that game.
Now that you mention it, they do look a lot like characters from Night in the Woods. Like,
yeah,
especially that black fox that he fights at the end that makes like the wings that destroy like whatever reality they're in. I was like, I didn't that looks just like their art style.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped for that, but unfortunately we don't have a release date yet.
Yep. Let me see. Some of the other games that they have that they announced. We're getting a new Devil May Cry 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that. That was a huge reveal.
Woo woo woo.
Yep. Woo, 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 woo.
I like my DMC.
Yeah, this one was heavily rumored before the show, but yeah, obviously nothing was confirmed until the actual reveal. It looks pretty interesting. It looks like a revival of the classic Devil May Cry formula. Lewis, what are your thoughts?
I'm excited, but I'm also a little bit like weirded out by it because it looks and plays a lot like the rebooted Devil May Cry, which was like if you remember, they changed his look in that game to be like very punk and very like metal kind of style, and then they also had like the like the dubstep music in the background and all that stuff. And I won't knock that game. It was pretty fun. It just wasn't original like Devil May Cry, but this new one looks like it takes place after 4, and it's like the newer character Nero who had the devil arm, but it looks like he lost it and now he has a metal arm that this girl made for him in order to fight the demons. But he looked just like Dante from the DMC game.
Yeah. It looks like just a ton of fun. Yeah, they said it's coming out spring 2019. So we'll have a little bit to wait and hear more about the game. But yeah, I'm excited. The trailer looks pretty cool.
Yeah, if I didn't already have an Xbox, that would be one of the games I would probably buy for, because that's a pretty good title to get under your belt.
Yep. Let me see. We also got news of Cuphead DLC coming in 2019.
Right, and you get to, what was it, a new character you get to play as or something?
Yeah, one of the lustrous cups or whatever.
Yeah, one of the cup lady. Miss Chalice. That's her name. Yeah, you're playing as Miss Chalice, who, if you play Cuphead, there's these different levels where you can defend Miss Chalice from these ghosts that are trying to attack her. They're like little mini stages, and yeah, that should be exciting. Let me see. We got more news about games like Dying Light 2, Just Cause 4. Let me see. There was. Did you remember? Let's see. Battletoads coming in 2019.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Rare.
Yeah, man. 2019. Yeah, the year of Battletoads. Did it? Yeah, one of the most legendarily difficult games of all time. Now back to frustrate an entire new generation of gamers.
I'm excited for that one because it said it was gonna be like high def 2.5 like hand drawn animation, just like kind of like Cuphead was. So it looks like they're going in that direction of like going back to traditional animation for their game. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's gonna be good.
Yeah, that sounds cool to me.
Now, I was busy taking notes, so I don't know if this was actually a joke or not. They announced new Gears of War.
Yes.
But they also had a trailer, it looked like, where the characters were like Funko Pop figurines. Is that like
that's an actual game.
It's like a spin-off game. Okay, because I have in my notes, all I have written is Gears of Bullshit. And then underneath that it says Funko this shit.
Yeah.
So I was, at the time, I was not impressed by that reveal at all. What about you guys?
So it turns out, I think it's going to be like a mobile game involving the Funko style Gears characters for some reason. I remember, because Chris, you and I were watching it together, and we were just like shocked, like it can't just be this, because if it's just this, people are going to lose their minds. And thankfully, it was not just that.
Right, because they immediately afterwards announced Gears of War 5 coming out, which is one that people have been wanting to see for a long, long time now. And we actually got a very, the trailer had a lot of like typical action movie cliches, the kind of stuff you see in like all sorts of different action movies. But it still looks like a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's still pretty new. It's coming 2019. Are you guys excited? I think it could be. I think it would be a good. Yeah, I think it could be a good game.
I think it looks fantastic. From what I've heard, I haven't played it, but Gears of War 4 was actually a really great re-entry into the series and what they did with the whole story and everything. People were really happy with that. So, the demo the trailer that they showed off of Gears 5 looked really awesome. Looked like it had a pretty heavy story. Characters look cool. I mean, if you're a Gears fan, you're going to be really pumped for that. But actually, Chris, in between the Funko Pop reveal and Gears 5, they showed off another Gears game, which was a tactics style RPG, almost in the vein of like an XCOM.
Yeah, you're
I don't
right.
remember what it was called, but Gears Tactics, I think.
Yeah, I think I actually do have that written down here. It's just Gears Tactics.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I couldn't tell based on my notes if that was related to the Gears of Bullshit game or if that was like its own separate thing.
yeah. So 3 Gears games announced back to back to back.
I think this is another example of like the Halo Infinite, where it was just a way. It's one of their best IPs, and if they had not said anything about it, it probably would have come up later. So they had to say something about Gears in that time span.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
And then they wrapped up their conference with Cyberpunk 2077, the new game coming out from CD Projekt Red. Oh
Yeah.
man, that trailer looked so awesome. The trailer looked badass. I wish they had shown off like some gameplay footage during the conference. Apparently, there was a behind closed doors playable demo. It was like a 50-minute demo, I think, that a lot of the press and industry insiders could play. And based on a lot of the feedback that they had written about after playing that demo, I'm pretty hyped for the game at this point. I was just kind of like, before, but now I'm like, oh yeah, this is right on my radar.
Yeah, I've heard that too. It looks awesome. It's a cool, awesome like futuristic environment, like sort of like a Blade Runner kind of thing. Um, this is the studio that of course made the Witcher games. If you've ever played them, you know just how vast and in depth they get, not only with the actual game, but with like NPCs and side quests and stuff. So just imagining that whole process, the polish that they put into their games, into like a brand new setting, is just super inviting, and I'm really excited to see more of that. We did not get a release date though, did we?
I don't think we did. If we did, I think it would be like maybe nah, we didn't get anything. Yeah, I was gonna say like even if they had announced 2019, I would be very pessimistic about that. I don't think we're gonna be playing that before 2020 at the earliest.
Yeah, unfortunately, it still seems like it's going to be a little bit of a way off, but I'm excited to see what they show, up until its release and learning more about it.
Let's see, and that was Microsoft's conference. I mean, we spent a lot of time just now talking about games, and that's I mean, we asked and Microsoft delivered. They presented a lot of games. Now, a lot of those games that they discussed aren't exclusive to the Xbox One. Um, I but even then, like a lot of the info that they showed off, I think the underrated aspect of that conference was them announcing those studios that they acquired.
Yeah,
I think that bringing those devs under their umbrella and saying, all right, you're going to be making games just for us going forward. I think that is going to be a huge step for them in establishing better footing in the next console generation, which, I mean, if rumors are to be believed, we may actually start hearing about the next consoles at next year's E3, which, so it goes. But we'll have to see. But I feel like for this year, Microsoft really hit it out of the park.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like they've had consistently strong conferences the past few years. Sorry.
They've had very strong bullshit conferences.
All right, we'll take that as a sign to move on.
But no, yeah, no, I agree. Microsoft had a very strong conference, and yeah, they did really well.
Yeah.
All right, so we were then followed by the presentation from Ubisoft, and boy, howdy, they brought the goods.
Oh, God, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Oh man. I feel like the one thing I remember most from Ubisoft's conference, like, we got that gorgeous new trailer from Beyond Good and Evil 2, right? And they've got their ship and it's hovering around through the rings of like Saturn or wherever, and it just like, I mean, you want to talk about, okay, this is like, it's definitely like in-game footage versus like CGI footage, and you can tell like this is not in-game footage. No way, no how. I mean, it's absurd how good this looks. Like, it's way too good to ever be gameplay footage. But even then, how crisp and how beautiful the game looked from a graphical perspective and from just a general art design aesthetic. It's just, it really felt like you were in another world as you were watching this ship just sailing through. And then the reveal at the end where they had Jade show up. Jade!
Oh, man.
I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, it's Jade! I was like screaming. As a big fan of the first game, and I was convinced going into this game, everything we had heard up to this point, it was going to be a prequel. Jade wasn't going to be in it. I was like, that's a shame, but what are you going to do? I mean, Jade is only like 20 something, I think, in the first Beyond Good and Evil. She's not old. Yeah, she's not very old. I mean, she's not like extremely young or anything. But considering when this game takes place, I would have thought that we weren't going to be seeing her. But then there she was at the end. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I had a total geek out moment.
I'm just now realizing that I messed up and Ubisoft was not next. That was supposed to be Bethesda, but I guess we'll just keep talking about it since we're on it already.
May as well. We were going to talk about Ubisoft at some point anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, about Beyond Good and Evil, they showed the trailer, they showed some gameplay. It looks fantastic. I encourage, if anybody's really interested in this game, go on YouTube because the team at Ubisoft has been posting a lot of pre-alpha footage and just like stuff that they're working on during development and basically chronicling how the game's going along. And it's some pretty long, in-depth videos that are really interesting. So just go on YouTube, type in Beyond Good and Evil 2 Alpha, and just watch all the stuff that they got going on. There's one really great video of Michel Ancel. Like he's playing like a dev build of the game, and he's showing you how it works and like flying around in ships and stuff. And then he also can like zoom out and show you how big the actual world is, or should I say how big their universe is. And it is crazy huge. This game is so ambitious. So if you're into that at all, definitely watch some of those videos.
As much as I love watching that trailer, all I can think about is the dancing panda in the very beginning of the show. Stuck in my head for 10 minutes.
How could we forget the dancing panda? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just like Ubisoft. I mean, it can't be a conference without a big, wild, crazy Just Dance show off. And yeah, they delivered. I think everyone was talking about that dancing panda at the beginning.
It was so out of pocket. I was just like, okay, can we just keep going now?
Yeah, that panda really brought the house down.
I mean, how could it not? It just looked really good. I did want to briefly want to talk about. They did announce at the end of the Beyond Good and Evil 2 trailer and that presentation that they were going to be accepting a lot of fan contributed art and music from different people who could and if their work is chosen, it could actually be introduced into the game in different areas. Like, say you're wandering around the world, someone's art is graffiti, you just flip on the radio, someone's music could be playing in the background. Um, I don't necessarily know how I feel about that personally. It feels like they're accepting a lot of they're going to be accepting a lot of people's work and saying like, "Oh, we're going to pay you, like we might pay you if we choose to accept your work." And it might appear in the game, but let's say someone's work, like say someone's graffiti becomes like, "Oh, this is like a viral thing," and it comes to symbolize Beyond Good and Evil 2. And it becomes like a major marketing thing that Ubisoft then uses. Then the original artist might not get paid for that use of their work. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of how they're going about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are more artists than I am, but I just wanted to get like, what are your impressions of them going about this tactic?
I thought about that more after you said your thoughts on it, and I would say to anybody who is going to submit to this, read all the fine print, because there's a very good chance that Ubisoft will own your artwork or your music after you submit it. And in the case of what you said, Chris, of something going viral or like exploding, like they might legally own all the rights to it, and you could not see any of that. So just be conscious of that, of what you are submitting. It might not be that way, I don't know, but
Right.
read all the fine print. Go to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's site or whatever and see how they operate with that kind of stuff. Really familiarize with all that stuff before you submit anything.
Right.
Yeah. But how can you not trust Jason Gordon-Levitt? I mean, that man.
He's so handsome, right? Yeah, can't be wrong.
I
He
mean,
doesn't seem
how can-
untrustworthy at all.
yeah. How can you? Yeah. How can you not trust that wolf's grin and that slick back hair?
Yeah.
My 2 cents on it is that if you're just trying to make like just fan art for the game, and that's the thing they're trying to aim for, then it doesn't necessarily have to be something commissioned. It could just be something you want to do just to get your name out there and your credentials out there. But if it's just don't do anything like you would think would go in your portfolio or something like that. Just
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Do it for fun, if not for yourself, if anything. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
that's,
trying to get at.
Yeah, that's fair. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it. I mean, you two are right. If you wanted to do it as a fun little side project, then that's great. But if you're looking at this as like, ooh, this is going to be like a commissioned piece, or this is going to be something you're putting time into, your time is probably better spent looking elsewhere.
Right.
So I feel like I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like that was an important issue to me, and I didn't want to talk about the game, which I'm still hyped for, and I still want to pick up day one, but that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So I just wanted to talk about that a little.
And they're conscious of that too, because I saw Joseph Gordon-Levitt went on Twitter and said like, "Hey guys, we messed up. Like we didn't fully explain how this works. Click here to like learn exactly how everything's gonna happen or whatever." So that's good. I'm glad they took some initiative on that.
Yep, exactly. So moving on. The next thing I kind of have on my list is we got new DLC announced for one of last year's most popular games. That, of course, is the Donkey Kong DLC for Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And guys, they brought out Grant Kirkhope himself to play live as they were showing off the trailer for the DLC. How amazing was that moment?
Yeah, that was really cool. I gotta say, it was cool to see that whole orchestra play. And I actually recognized the cello player. I remember her. She was part of the orchestra for the Game Awards last year.
Really?
She has this really cool cello that's just like basically like one long like metal wire. You gotta see it. It's kind of hard to explain.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And so about the DLC, like I was like, all right, that's cool. People love Mario and Rabbids. Like Donkey Kong's great. This looks pretty cool. But I wasn't really thinking too much of it. Then the other day, I was watching Nintendo's Treehouse E3 presentations, and one segment was on the new DLC, and they actually had David Solani or David Solani playing the game and talking about it with Greg.
Kirkhope.
Not Greg Kirkhope. It wasn't him actually. It was
Nope.
another. I can't remember his name, but they showed off the game, and like the amount of detail that they put into this thing, like it's so great. Like one of the characters is a rabid Cranky Kong, and like they brought up the inventory, like the pause menu, and like in the corner of the inventory was or I think it was after you beat a level, the menu after you beat a level. It was Donkey Kong, Rabid Cranky, and Rabid Peach. And like they were sitting down on the ground, and like Rabid Cranky was just like smacking Donkey Kong with his stick, and Donkey Kong just like put his fist up and like punched him and like flew off the screen, and like the treehouse representative, like he was talking and he just started laughing so hard because like, he didn't even expect to see that. Like there's just so many cool little like funny little details that they put in the game. They changed. It's not just an add-on. It's almost like a new game. Like they kind of changed everything. Like coins are bananas now. All the weapons are like banana related, or like the guns are Donkey Kong theme related. The levels are all Donkey Kong theme. Like there's barrels, there's jungles. Like it really looks cool. So if you picked up Mario and Rabbids and you liked it, definitely check this out. And it's coming out at the end of June, so very soon.
Yep. Nice. Lewis, any thoughts on being Donkey Kong and being able to shoot those annoying rabbits right in their stupid, ugly faces?
Well, haven't played the new Mario and Rabbids game yet, but I've seen gameplay footage of it, and you can't. It's so hard not to laugh at the rabbits because they're so funny. It's kind of like the same thing with like the minions. It's the whole they're wacky and kooky and they can get away with like slapstick comedy and all that stuff. So I'm all for that. I like that. I like to see more of that. Maybe something from like another series after Donkey Kong, maybe like Mario, Metroid, or Fox or something.
Seeing one of the rabbits with like Samus's helmet would just be so weird, because like Samus is such like a serious character who takes everything ultra seriously, and just seeing like one of the rabbits like goofing around with her helmet like I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Yeah, I think my favorite is like Rabbid Peach, because every time I see her, all she's doing is like trying to get a selfie, and I'm just like, this is it's like this is what I would do if I was dressed up.
if you were a princess.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Skull and Bones?
Yar.
Assassin's Creed 4 with just the pirate stuff.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
Nothing wrong with that. I feel like, too, that they have an advantage over Rare and Sea of Thieves, because they have kind of gotten an idea of, okay, Rare just put out Sea of Thieves. It's a pirate game. We've got a pirate game going. And they can kind of look at what didn't work with Sea of Thieves and say, all right, we've got Skull and Bones coming out next year. Let's not do that. From what I saw, the footage of Skull and Bones that I saw, it looks a lot more action-packed. I love the idea of being able to cooperate and fight against, like, a giant frigate that's carrying a bunch of like goods or valuables or what have you, and then at the end you can all kind of fight amongst yourselves to pick up the pieces afterwards. I thought that was, that's keeping in line with traditional pirate-like warfare, and I feel like it could be that could be a lot of fun. Like, I'm still holding out hope on the pirate genre. Sea of Thieves kind of stumbled at the beginning. I've heard through the grapevine, though, that it has gotten a little bit better, but it's still not as good as it could be at this point. So it's still kind of a miss for me. That's definitely a misfire. But Skull and Bones, I'm still holding out hope for. I think it looks really cool. I think it could be a lot of fun. I'm excited to pick it up and play it when it comes out.
Yeah, it looks cool. I wonder if there's anything like, is it all on the water and in ships, or is there parts where you can kind of get out and like roam islands and stuff? It didn't look like that in the trailer. If it's just ship-based stuff, I feel like that can get kind of dry pretty quick.
Ironically.
Yeah, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like any of these games, we'll have to wait and see. They always look good at the beginning, but then when they actually come out, who knows? But feel like I have a good feeling about this one. Let me see. We've got Starlink got announced.
Yes.
Now this game, you get to be in outer space, fly different spaceships, and probably most surprising, in the Switch version of the release, we're getting Star Fox.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise. I remember when they showed off Starlink last year. It was very brief, but the guy kind of explained the idea and how there's going to be like this, unfortunately, like a toy system that works where you buy a ship and buy different pieces for it.
Yeah, the Toys to Life system, which I feel like we've kind of moved past at this point.
I think that ship has sailed. But like, on one hand, I think it's really cool how you can like buy different like pieces of your ship, and like when you plug them into the toy, like it automatically equips it into the game. Like if you want to use like missiles, you get the missile component and you snap it into your ship, and then all of a sudden you have missiles in the game. We just don't have any details on the toys yet, like how much they're gonna cost. Like if it's gonna be like a ridiculous amount of money, and let's face it, it probably is. Like that's gonna be a bummer. I'm hoping there's like a starter pack or something that you can get, and that you're pretty much like good with that, because I do want to play it. I watched a 14-minute gameplay video of the game in action, and the gameplay actually, surprisingly enough, reminded me kind of something out of Star Fox 64. It looks great. It's got this cool, bright color vibe that kind of reminds me of No Man's Sky. In the demo, the guy was using the R-Wing, and it was actually shooting like the green lasers like that it normally shoots. So that was a nice touch. The boss battle was pretty cool that they showed off. The character design I really liked. So yeah, I'm really excited for that game. Lou, did you see any of that?
Not too much. Probably not as much as you. But I like that it looks kind of like a Star Fox game, and they actually had put Fox in it, so it's kind of like Ubisoft's like take on it, which I like, and it gives them another reason to kind of abuse the Nintendo partnership that they have with them.
I mean, it worked out so well for them last year. Why not?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second conference in a row. It's second year in a row where Ubisoft had the man himself, Shigeru Miyamoto, come out and talk about the game. I'm glad that ever since Nintendo made the switch to having directs instead of an actual conference, we've missed actually having Miyamoto at E3. But now with Ubisoft is just like, hey, we'll show off Miyamoto. Here he is.
I'm starting to worry for a second there, because Miyamoto just keeps showing up at the Ubisoft press conferences. I'm starting to think maybe he might defect to Ubisoft eventually.
Louis, your mic's cutting out.
Sorry, dude.
No,
we're gonna have to continue the rest of the show without him.
Two goons dressed as Wario and Waluigi just burst into his room and take him and pull him out.
Yeah, this is why he won't put Waluigi in Smash.
Are we missing anything big from? Oh, we didn't talk about the Division 2. That was unveiled. Yeah, for people who did play it and really liked it, it is like it's Ubisoft's answer to Destiny. It takes place in DC this time instead of New York. From what I heard about the original Division, started off kind of rough, but like you guys talked about earlier with Sea of Thieves, with the updates, it was getting better. They were improving a lot of things, and so now they're kind of in like a good standing with it. So to launch the Division 2 after all these updates and everything, I think they might be able to get on the ground running with this and have a really impactful start. It did look great visually, and I think it could really be a big hit for them, especially with these games as a service,
Right.
being kind of the big thing now. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. I don't think I'll get it because I'm not really into those games that much, but I think it will wind up selling pretty well.
Yeah, I like the original concept of the Division when it first came out, where it was kind of just you would go into like this huge map and a bunch of people would be trying to like find and loot stuff, and then you'd get like this huge package that would show up and everybody would see it, so you would all have to fight for it over time. And that was a cool idea. So I'm excited to kind of see Division 2. I probably won't pick it up, but I do like the fact that people are still interested in it, so
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Let's wrap Ubisoft up with their cherry on top of their conference with Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, so Ubisoft came out and they confirmed what had been leaked a couple weeks prior, that the next Assassin's Creed is going to be called Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's taking place in ancient Greece. It is not going to have the cap throwing mechanics of the previous entry in the Odyssey franchise. But what they are doing is they're introducing a pretty radical new concept. You can choose to either be a man or a woman at the very beginning of the Assassin's Creed Odyssey adventure, and it's got full voice acting for either option, depending on if you choose to be a man or a woman. So I thought that was really really cool. Because I mean, the assassins in game, the assassin order is open. Like you can be male, you can be female, and now you actually have the option to play a main Assassin's Creed title as a woman. And yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Let me see. They I'm a little confused though on the timing of like where the game takes place in the actual Assassin's Creed universe in the timeline, because in the last game, Assassin's Creed Origins, that took place during ancient Egypt, and that was during the time frame that game was set in with ancient Egypt. That was the beginning of the Assassin's Creed Order itself. Like the main character decided, I'm going to invent the assassins, and I don't know if that's a direct quote from the game or not, but yeah, he invented the assassin order. But ancient Greece takes place before that time. Like, yeah, that was all set before when the assassins were founded. So are they just gonna like run around and be like stabbing people? Because like either one of your heroes, doesn't matter who you choose, I didn't see any hidden blades on anybody in any of the footage that they showed off. It was just typical like swords and shields and whatever else you had. They kept the hawk mechanic from Origins, where you can use your animal friend, a hawk, to fly way high up over the land, and you can find different locations scattered throughout the area, and the hawk can target it, and then it shifts back to you, and you can see where that target is, so you can actually move through the crowd and get there. Outside of that, though, I'm not entirely sure like how this all fits into the actual Assassin's Creed world.
I mean, at this point, does it even matter? Because I think the whole hook to Assassin's Creed now is like, oh, we're gonna do it in this place now. We're gonna do it in Italy, and the character is gonna be this person, and it's gonna have its own story. And there might be some hints of an overarching story, but we're really not gonna focus on that. Oh, and then we're gonna go to like Iceland one day, and he's gonna have an Eskimo outfit.
Yeah, my concern is that it looks like there's no assassinating happening. Like there's no sneaking, there's no like being learning. I mean, they didn't show off that much, but what we saw was like these open like war scenarios where it was like 1,000 on 1,000 armies, and like you're fighting with a sword and shield. And I was like, how is this an assassin game? Like it's all like straight up action, like warfare. Like I don't know, but maybe there's more to it than that. And you could tell they were sort of leaning that way because I know Origins had a lot more action-based combat, a lot less sneaking and stuff. So I guess we'll just have to kind of see where that's going.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still excited for the game. It's coming out relatively soon, October 5th. Considering every other game at the conference got announced for February 22nd next year. October 5th feels very early, so we aren't going to have to wait too long to play the game, but I'm excited. I think it could be a good time.
Yeah.
Let me see. So that was Ubisoft. Now, do we want to jump back to talking about Bethesda, or do we want to, or how do you guys want to talk about the next conference?
Let's get back on track. Sorry, I threw us off there.
No, it's okay. I mean, you're off the podcast after this episode is done wrapping.
Understand.
It's only fair.
Yeah. Okay, so Bethesda on Sunday night. Everyone was eagerly anticipating it because they had teased Fallout 76 about a week before, and boy, did we find out about it at the conference.
We learned a lot about Fallout 76. Yeah, we had the man himself, Todd Howard, come out. Gave us a great deal of detail about this new game. I'm kind of torn on how I feel about it. The game is going to be all online, so it's a completely online experience. You're going to have servers that you're going to play on. You can play the game as either a solo experience, or you can have multiple people on the server with you. You can keep your progression from like when you log off or if you die or anything like that. Like you get to keep that progression with you as you play through the game. And it's also going to be kind of an expansion on the base building aspects that they had introduced in Fallout 4. Now, like Justin, you what are your thoughts on this game being all online?
Yeah. So a lot of people were instantly kind of put off of the idea, and Nick actually wrote a really great email that we'll get to next week. We unfortunately don't have time for it in this episode, but basically his thoughts on the whole Unveil and its process, and it versus an original Fallout game. And like I understand a lot of people are very apprehensive about what they saw, but I was kind of looking at it as like, all right, this isn't really a mainline Fallout game. This is kind of like a spin-off almost. And in that regard, like I'm all right if they try something new, I'm upset because it's not from what I've seen, but like I'm not a big online game player. Like I don't really play MMOs that much. I just don't really like the whole idea of them, the system of. I'm more of a single player type of gamer, and I just don't think this really appeals to me that much. But I also am willing to try it out because I could be surprised. I trust Bethesda. I trust what they're doing. I trust Todd Howard. I trust that whole team, and I think there's more to it than what they kind of showed during the conference. And after talking to Butch, who was a huge Fallout fan, he watched NoClip recently uploaded a documentary about the making of Fallout 76, and he said that documentary answered a lot of the questions that he had. So if anybody is kind of really excited about this game but nervous or something, I would suggest that they watch that to learn more. And yeah, again, like, we're just gonna have to wait for it to come out. I know they're planning a beta. I think you have to pre-order the game to get into it. But that once that launches, I think we'll get a good idea of what we're getting into. So I'm excited for that and to see the reaction after that is available.
I kind of agree. Like, I'm on the fence about how I feel about the game being all online. Um, I would prefer a single player experience and being able to roam around the world at my own pace and just kind of like discover all the secrets for myself. Um, I do kind of get where they're coming from, and I am kind of intrigued by the idea of like, if it was just me playing by myself, I guarantee I would have a miserable time. But if I were playing with all of you guys, like say we decided, hey, let's get together, let's build a base, we'll defend it, we'll have different adventures to go get supplies or different things like that. Um, I would be okay with that. Defending against raiders, like if other players decided to be like, you know what, we're gonna kind of be like griefers, where they'll like band up and they'll act like the raiders in the Fallout universe, where they'll like storm a base and try to steal their supplies or just cause mayhem wherever they go. I mean, it feels like they're kind of using gamers' tendency to grief other players. They're kind of using that as part of like their in-world universe. It's like, oh, those players, they're just acting like raiders. And yeah, the raiders in the Fallout universe are hated. Everyone shoots them as soon as you see them. And I feel like they're kind of using that same tactic in Fallout 76. Now, I mean, I would prefer that people not grief me as I'm trying to play the game. I just want to play the game and enjoy it. I don't want people to be all up in my shiz and ruining my experience because they think it's funny. I would prefer that not to happen. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched that No Clip documentary, so I'll have to give that a look and see what they have to say about that. I don't know. I'm willing to give it a try, but it's kind of like I'm willing to dip into the pool, but I want to dip in like, toes first and then the rest of my foot and then up to my knees, like I want to go slow. I don't want to just cannonball into the deep end.
I don't want to imagine you slowly, sensually getting into a body of water.
I never said anything about sensual. Like, I'm just like, oh, I want to go for a swim, so let me get into the pool. I mean, there's nothing hot or sexy about that.
I
And
don't know,
yeah,
man.
listen, you keep your thoughts to yourself. Yeah, I don't need to. This isn't that type of podcast, okay?
Lewis, what are your thoughts?
About the game, not about me getting into a pool.
I was okay with it up until the point where they said you can get nuclear codes and randomly nuke anywhere in the map.
Yeah, that definitely turned me off.
You could be
Yeah.
working so hard to make that for Chris, and then someone could just randomly nuke you, and you have to start all over again.
Now, I was talking to a person I work with who he's a big gamer himself. He watched a lot of that conference, and he read up a lot on the nuke mechanic in Fallout 76. From what he was telling me, like, it takes a while. Like, you and your friends have to grind to get these codes to even be able to launch the nukes in the first place. So that's one. Like, just even being able to launch a nuke, if you even want to, is going to take you several days, real time, to actually get those. So you can't just launch nukes whenever you want. And then when you actually can launch the nukes, you have to be very careful about where you actually launch them, because the world can be built back up wherever it is you do decide to launch the nukes. And from the radiation that occurs in that nuked area, these monsters, these enemies will show up, and they're like they're powerful enemies that drop really good gear and drop really good loot. and they'll give you a lot of experience, and like they're powerful, but they're not impossible to bring down. So, say a nuke goes off close to where you are, right? And ordinarily, these players, when they nuke, I mean, naturally, you want to nuke as far away from yourself as you can, because you don't want to get caught up in that blast radius. So you shoot this nuke far away from yourself to try to take out your enemies. Well, if your enemies move away from where you think they are, then all of a sudden there's an irradiated area, but these enemies show up. Your enemies go in, kill those monsters, and they drop this powerful loot. And now the next time you go to try to take them out, you're facing off against them, and they've got like these super powered guns, or they've got these crazy abilities. So just being able to launch the nuke itself as a mechanic, like, yeah, if you actually land the nuke, then it's great. But if you miss with actually firing the nuke, it really comes back to bite you. Then all that hard work you've done for like days on end, just getting the codes, is wasted. So that's supposed to kind of act as the counterbalance to the nuke mechanic itself. Now, as for that nuke mechanic actually being in the game itself, I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Nick briefly talked about this in his email. I feel like just even having these nukes that you can launch in the game is like, oh, you know, if you get everything, you can launch the nukes and try to take out your friends. That sort of idea is against the very concept of Fallout in and of itself.
Exactly. It's supposed to be the fallout of nuclear warfare. It's supposed to deter you from that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go into the Fallout games and come away thinking, "Ooh, nukes are fun." Yeah, no, you want to like you look around at the world and you're like, "Oh, Jesus, like what's happened here?" Like what hell hath man wrought? And now you're just like, "Oh, let's launch nukes." And it just flies in the face of what the original idea of the series was about. And I just don't know if I agree with the direction that Fallout 76 is taking. It's not supposed to be a mainline entry in the Fallout franchise, so that's one thing. But still, I'm just kind of on probably 60% of the game.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's enough said on that for now. Let's check out briefly some of the other stuff they showed off. Rage 2 is coming. We were welcomed to that by a impromptu concert of Andrew WK.
I've never seen a bigger difference between how hyped one guy was on stage versus how the crowd was actually reacting to seeing him on stage.
Yeah, if you missed the conference, go on YouTube and just watch that performance, because the camera keeps cutting into like people in the audience, and I guess the camera crew was thinking they would be into it, but like it just these people's faces are just like so annoyed and perturbed and just like unenthusiastic of what's going on. It was really awkward.
It was super awkward.
Yeah. But Rage 2, Lewis, what did you think?
I thought the gameplay looked pretty fun. Like, it was on pretty much par with like Doom as far as like crazy action shooter.
The gunplay that they showed off looked so fluid. It was like insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's developed by id Software. So, I mean, they're bringing that expertise right on over to Rage 2. It looks badass. Let me see. We also got some info on, let's see, we have Doom Eternal. Looks pretty cool.
I would have liked to have seen gameplay for that, but unfortunately, it was just a teaser.
I think it's still kind of early on.
Yep. Let's see.
They announced DLC for Prey and Wolfenstein 2 also.
Yes.
I think there's a multiplayer mode coming to Prey, they said also.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah, it's a DLC called Moon Crash. I assume it involves crashing on the moon. Yes. And yeah, I mean, I never played played Prey when it came out. What was it, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It looks like it'll be pretty interesting. We got a lot of information regarding the Elder Scrolls franchise. Let's see, we got Elder Scrolls Legends. Looks like a card game that's coming out this year, next year. And is that like
I
is that like a mobile card game?
Yeah, it's a PC mobile, and
mhm.
I think it's already out. It's just the next expansion in the.
Right.
Yep. And speaking of expansions, we're also getting an expansion to Elder Scrolls Online, the Somerset expansion, which it looks like they're introducing werewolves. So that's cool.
Yeah. Elder Scrolls Online is doing very well for them, and they've been putting out a lot of different content for that. They've been, adding services and modes pretty frequently, and it's impressive. That's one of the MMOs that I actually did play a little bit of, and I had a great time. I'd like to go back to that, but this has been it's been a while since I played, so it might be a little tough to get back into it. But that they are really adding a lot of content to that, and it's impressive and surprising.
Yep. Let's see. We are also getting Elder Scrolls Blades, which is pure mobile game.
Mm.
Well, here's the thing: it is a mobile game, but it's coming out on all the consoles. It's going to be out on Switch. It's going to be on PS4. It's going to be on PC. You can play it on a tablet. You can play it in virtual reality, and they all cross over. You could be playing on your phone at the same time against someone who's playing on in virtual reality, which is
Right.
crazy. The game is free, which is awesome. It's a completely free download. It looks inspired by Elder Scrolls 2 Arena, or Elder Scrolls 1 Arena, where you kind of are like walking through randomly generated dungeons, and these enemies come out in front of you, and then you fight them.
Right.
But there's more to it than that, because it's not just dungeons. You can go out into the world as well. The graphics are ridiculously good, surprisingly good.
Oh yeah, especially for a
Yeah.
mobile game.
I mean, it's got a character customization in it. If you are playing on the phone, you can play it in portrait or landscape. It looks really in depth. It is a mobile game. I'm not crazy about them, but I would totally give this one a shot, because it looks like they just put a lot of work into it. And if you could play it on the Switch, that's pretty awesome. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited for Blades.
Yep, I'm excited for it too. It looks like that could be a lot of fun. Todd Howard also announced that they are releasing their first new IP in a very long time at Bethesda, Starfield.
Yeah. So this was kind of known. It was talked about, rumored. Will, friend of the show, actually told me about it. I had no idea. But it is their sci-fi IP. We weren't sure we would really see anything about this so soon. And again, we didn't really see anything. We just saw like a planet and then the logo. But yeah, first new IP from Bethesda in 25 years. It's in a sci-fi setting, which is awesome. I mean, I'm really excited for that. Hopefully, it's not too far away, and I'd love to learn more about how the game works and what exactly you'll be doing. Is it going to be like a Mass Effect kind of space opera kind of thing, or is it going to be more just like flying ships? We don't know anything really about it yet, so I am really excited to see how that's going to turn out.
It seems like everybody's hyping on to, or they're hopping onto the outer space train now, since Mass Effect has been dethroned from from Andromeda. So they're like, who's gonna be the number one now in space travel?
Yeah.
I'm impressed by how quickly the internet started making Garfield jokes after Starfield was revealed. There were pictures of Garfield floating in space afterwards, just all over online.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the internet, when it isn't letting you down, never lets you down.
Aw.
Yep.
Let me see. And finally, the big announcement at Bethesda's conference, which they wrapped everything up with, was the confirmation that, yes, they are working on Elder Scrolls 6. And we learned just as much information as I have just given all of you about the game.
Yeah. Which, you know what? I think as Zul was saying this, it's just nice to know that it is confirmed to be worked on,
Yeah.
And Todd Howard said in the conference that their next game is going to be Starfield, and then the game after that is going to be Elder Scrolls 6. So
it's a ways away.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time away. But it's just nice to know that it's being worked on. It will be coming, and we'll be able to play it in the year of our Lord 2026.
Don't forget Skyrim being ported to Amazon Echo and
Yes.
Apple fridges.
That was a pretty great game.
Yeah, what's crazy about that too is they played that trailer and we all thought, oh, that's a joke, But you can actually do it. Like if you have an Amazon Alexa device or whatever, like an Echo, you can actually download like an app or whatever and be like, hey, Alexa, play Skyrim, and you can actually play Skyrim on your in-home spy device.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man, what a world. What a world.
Yeah.
That trailer was great too cuz it had Key, and he was just like, oh, oh, your health is down. How many health potions do I have? Oh, you have none. I eat all the cheese. Just all the cheese.
Yeah. That was pretty great.
Bit. Oh my god. It was funny. I was watching Game Informer's podcast on it, and the guy who did Game Enforcer, their joke comic section, did a part where it was like, oh, will Bethesda make another Skyrim, and they're gonna bundle it all together in like this nice Christmas bag of like every Skyrim game known to man, and they were just like, oh, they just kind of stole my joke, but okay. It means Bethesda's actually watching us.
Hey, it's nice that they can have like a sense of humor about themselves,
Yeah.
That they don't take themselves so seriously.
I love and respect that so much. Of a person or a company, I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there we go. That was probably the 3 strongest conferences in a row we just did. We just did Microsoft, Ubisoft, and Bethesda Soft.
we also talked about EA at the start, which I understand was so forgettable that we forgot to mention it in our recap. But yeah, that's four of the big 5 conferences that we had out there. Yeah. I mean, at this point, like, I thought we had a really good show going. Everyone was coming out really strong. A lot of really great info was released. Square Enix's conference. Square Enix. Why did they show up? What?
I don't think we need to spend more than 5 minutes on this. In fact, I actually missed the conference, and I did not watch it due to you guys telling me not to.
You missed nothing. You missed nothing.
I watched on YouTube the 2 new things that they showed. One was like this trailer for this live action trailer for this beat 'em up game that just looked ridiculous, and I can't even remember what the other one was.
There was one of their new IPs that they announced was Babylon's Fall, which
that's right. Yeah,
it's a new game being developed by Platinum Games. So I mean, they're the same dev team behind the Bayonetta series and Nier Automata, among others. But they have a very strong pedigree. The fact that it's Platinum developing Babylon's Fall, I have a lot of hope for the game. Unfortunately, that's really all we know about Babylon's Fall is its name and Platinum's developing it. We didn't get any additional detail outside of that. They briefly talked about Octopath Traveler, which is coming out next month on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
That looks cool as always. They showed.
But yeah, 90% of it was stuff that was already shown in some other capacity somewhere else, and stuff that we've known about already.
Yeah. It was just such a waste. They capped their conference, which had the feel of like a Nintendo Direct. I think so. Who was it who described it as like, they had like their conference was pretty much just like they put together their little clip reel, pressed play, and then walked away, and then that was it. Yeah, it was just a half hour of things that we had already seen before. They capped their conference with the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer that we had seen a couple times by that point in the show. And it was at the end, it was just 30 minutes of nothing, and people were just left confused and frustrated at the end. Like, what was even the point? Like, they hadn't had a conference in a few years, and after so many years away, this is what they come up with after all this time away? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. To quote Zool, I would call it shit, but that would be insulting to shit.
Amen. Yeah, I like you said, I don't want to give Square Enix any more time than we've already given, because that would be putting in more effort than they put in to their conference.
Lewis, any thoughts on Square Enix?
Being a Square Enix fanboy, I'm a little disappointed, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm also like, at this point, it's like, why even bother at this having a conference to begin with? But
Yeah.
I'm still excited for their games. Like Octopath Traveler is good.
It does look
Oh,
good.
that game
Yeah.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. I still have to play the demo that they released.
Right. Oh, me too.
Yeah, that's right.
this
They
is
did.
new.
Yeah, they did have a new demo, which very interestingly, you can whatever stats you rack up in the demo will roll over into the actual release when that game
Right.
comes out. So make sure you get the demo, kids. I'm speaking to myself too, because I still have to get the demo. But yeah, yeah, that looks cool at least.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we've talked about technically 5 of the 9 conferences already, so we're kind of halfway through all the conferences. Can I suggest we take a quick break?
Yeah, we're cool with that.
I will file your request and submit it to the PAR corporate team.
Okay.
And they will get back to you in 3 to 4 weeks.
Man, that soon? We really had to. Yeah, we had to really reshuffle the department up there just to get it down to 3 to 4 weeks. That's impressively quick.
But yeah, I agree. I think we all could use a break. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we will be back from the break.
What?
And the break is gonna break in breaking points and
And break.
Now. Welcome back to Press A Repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Chris Gold and Louis Tomasello, and we are recapping E3 2018. We went through Ubisoft, Bethesda, EA, Microsoft, and Square Enix, and now it's time to get a little weird. Louis, did you see the Devolver Digital Conference?
I did not. and I'm curious to know what you guys thought of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you also did not see the conference.
Correct. I missed it because it was late at night.
Yeah.
If I remember, it was at 11 o'clock, and I think I had work or I had sleep that I had to get caught up on. Either way, I missed the conference, unfortunately.
No problem. I will break it down for you guys. First off, I highly recommend that everybody watch these conferences. Not just this year's, but watch last year's first, and then watch this year's. Because if you're unfamiliar, it's like a fake press conference. It's a spoof on a press conference. It's a 20-minute long video, and it's just this woman from Devolver. I think her name is Nina. Comes out on stage, and she's like talking to the crowd and everything, and it's the script is so good. The writing is fantastic. It's just like her like tearing in everybody and like basically making fun of us for like spending all this money on like classic edition systems and like for buying like Bitcoin stuff, and she's basically like, you fat slobs will buy this anyway, and then it shows like the crowd going yeah like it's so good. But yeah, like the writing is fantastic. Like it's just a really hilarious like thing to watch, and you kind of have to watch them in order because like stuff happens in the last year's conference that happened like again this year, and this year's conference actually ended on a cliffhanger for next year. So
Shit.
yeah, I super highly recommend that you watch it because the conference is just as weird as the games that Devolver Digital publishes, and last year they only showed off 2 games in a 20-minute press conference, and this year they only showed off 3 games. And the first game is this game called Scum, which I've never heard of, and I can't even really explain it to you guys because I watched it and I still don't know what's going on and how the game works. It looks like some sort of zombie shooter kind of game, but it just looks really weird. If you're interested, look it up on YouTube, Scum. The next game they showed off, Chris, you're familiar with this. This game is called My Friend Pedro.
Yes, yeah. This game, I found out about it from just following different hashtags for like indie game devs on Twitter, and you see like the developer of this game publish just all sorts of different GIFs and screenshots of the game as in development, and it just looked so awesome. You're this character, and you're like going through warehouses, and you're like diving through windows, and you have this ability to slow down time as you dive through windows, and you can pull off like these incredible action shots where like there's 2 people in a room, one on the far side, one on the near side, and you dive in the middle, and you're doing like this weird front flip. And as you're flipping, you can shoot the one guy and then shoot the other guy. I've seen clips where, like, you kick a frying pan up into the ceiling so that it, like, goes up into the room above you, and then you shoot at the frying pan as it's flying or as it's, like, spinning around, and the bullets will ricochet off the frying pan and will hit enemies that are in that room above you. So it looks like the game is a great showcase for just pulling off like really awesome looking kills and just being like really cool and stylish. And I had heard that they had announced My Friend Pedro was coming soon, and yeah, I'm really excited to get my hands on the game. It looks awesome.
I love how the guy's just like skateboarding through it all. It's so funny.
Yeah,
it looks very badass.
It looks awesome, and it's coming to Switch, so that's great. I'm really excited for that one. And then the final game they showed off is a game that I never heard of. Lewis, maybe you've heard of this. It is a From Software game that came out for the Dreamcast in 2004 called Metal Wolf Chaos.
I did see that. I saw the remake trailer for it.
Yeah.
I never actually played it myself, but I remember when they were doing it, they were coining a phrase that I recognized from a meme. It was so funny. It was the Richard.
Yeah.
I was just like, yes, I remember this now.
So Chris, I'm going to explain to you what I know about this game because Zul was very familiar with this game, and he told me. Okay, everything I tell you is 100% true. What this game is about. Okay,
Lay it on me.
you play as the president of the United States. You are a mech, like a robot like mech, but you're also the president of the United States. You're playing in the White House. Your vice president, who's also a mech, betrays you and becomes like the enemy of the game, and you guys actually fight each other. The game has full horrendous English voice acting, but the game was only released in Japan, so it never even came out in North America. But for some reason, it has a full voice acted, full voice acting of English. And there's a scene where, as the president, as the president of the United States, you burst out of the White House while screaming, "Gnarly!" I'm not doing this justice. You have to watch the video.
It is funny to watch.
Yeah. Radical dudes. Like, that's like the whole... And they said... So it's a remake of the game, but they're keeping the actual voice tracks from the original game in the remake because they're just so horrendously bad. And, that's going to be coming out.
Everything you just said has 100% sold me on this game.
Yeah. Metal Wolf Chaos. Watch the video later.
Yeah.
I will as soon as we're done recording.
Plus, it's From Software, so how can you go wrong with them?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
It feels like their finger has been in like everybody's
Yeah.
pudding today. Like they're in the Microsoft conference and they're in Devolver, and they're still on the high from like
Yeah,
Dead
they're
Souls 3.
yeah they're developing that game Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
So, I highly recommend you guys watch both of the Devolver conferences. Watch the first one, then the second one, when you have time, because they're hilarious, and trust me, you'll enjoy them.
Right.
Okay, moving on to the PC gaming show. Here's the deal with the PC gaming show. Every year, this is kind of the one that we kind of like roll our eyes at and just kind of skip over it, and just kind of say this isn't for us, this isn't interesting, whatever. And this year will be no exception. No, I felt bad because that is the conference that I never really pay attention to. So we tried to watch it this year and pay attention to it, but it was just...
We gave it our best. I watched a few presentations, and then I got up and decided to watch Justin post a blog entry to our new website because that process was infinitely more interesting than what I was seeing during the PC gaming show.
It was all just like PC hardware, like porn, like people showing off like the latest.
No, not even. It was all games, but like just a lot of it looked the stuff that I don't know.
There was nothing really exciting, nothing that really stood out or jumped out. The host of the PC gaming show, I forget who he was. Butch said he was more familiar. I think he used to be like a StarCraft pro player.
Right. Yeah, and now he works for PC Gamer.
And now he works for PC Gamer magazine. He was doing his best out there, but you could tell like he didn't really have too much to work with. There just really wasn't a lot from the PC gaming show that A, wowed me, or B, that I can remember. It felt more kind of like a background noise conference than anything else.
Yeah, I want to check it out again because I know they showed off Star Citizen stuff, and that's a game that's been in early access for a long time and seems to be coming together really well. I'm interested in that, and they showed off this kind of top-down multiplayer like hospital game where you play as like some doctors, and it kind of reminded me of like an Overcooked style gameplay, and that looked kind of fun. So I want to check that out. But I'm sure there's some gems in there. And if you are strictly a PC gamer and you are offended right now, sorry.
Yep. I don't know what to tell you, folks.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe go elsewhere for your recap on that. But
Yeah, if you don't like it, then you can GTFO.
please don't leave us.
Yeah, we desperately need the downloads.
Yeah.
Please don't leave.
All right, but what do you say, you guys? We get back to our bread and butter and
Hell
console
yeah.
gaming.
Woo!
Consoles.
Consoles.
Sony.
So let's talk Nintendo. No, let's talk Sony.
Let's talk Sony. And Lewis, what was your take on how they kind of handled the presentation?
Well, I thought they were doing okay in the beginning, and then they kind of effed up and decided, hey, let's move everybody to a different room for 10 minutes.
Yeah, so the setup of their conference was super, super bizarre. I really don't know what they were thinking with this setup.
No, you know what they were thinking? Sony every year does these like artsy fartsy presentations nowadays. Like the last year, it was like the hanging bodies after I think it was The Last of Us.
No, it was Days Gone. It was Days Gone.
Days
and they
Gone.
had like the Cirque du Soleil performers like hanging off these giant ribbons, and they were supposed to represent like the bodies hanging in the forest.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was also bad.
Yeah, and then this year it's we're in a church now, and and we have the banjo player. It's Last of Us 2.
But yeah, like they had the banjo player. Like I didn't even mind so much. Like having the live musical acts there. Where for The Last of Us 2 they had the banjo player, and then later for Ghosts of Tsushima they had that. I don't know what the instrument is. It's kind of like a flute, but it's not a flute.
It's like a flute pipe or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I feel like having those people play and perform, like, that wasn't in itself a bad idea, but they should have shown some footage as they were playing. Kind of like similar to how for Ubisoft, like Grant Kirkhope was playing live as they were showing that footage for the Donkey Kong DLC. Maybe if they had that one guy playing the banjo as we were seeing some Last of Us 2 gameplay, or during that extended trailer, like when they were doing that dance in the church, maybe play during that. But outside of that, we had him playing, which was all fine and all. He was playing the banjo very well, but it was just zoomed on him for a long, long time, and nothing else was happening. And I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with his banjo playing, but I just want to see, like, I want to see some The Last of Us 2 footage, Like, I just want them to show me something as this is happening.
The funny
it very
thing
much
is,
felt like to me that they
Yeah.
were just trying to stretch out the conference, right? Like they didn't have a lot to show. Normally Sony's like an hour and a half. This was the first year that was like under an hour, And even with that was with the two performances and that weird like 15-minute break where they just started, talking about nothing while people were changing venues.
Yeah.
So
That was weird too, because it sounded like I was following. I was following along on Twitter as the conference was happening, and everybody was really confused. And apparently, people who were there were saying that Sony's plan was they were going to have 4 different rooms for 4 of the main titles that they were going to talk about at E3. It's going to be The Last of Us 2 in the church, then they were going to have Ghosts of Tsushima, then they were going to have Spider-Man and Death Stranding. Those were going to be the 4 main titles that they were going to highlight. And their idea was they were going to shuffle people from room to room, and each of these rooms was going to kind of be themed around each of those games, which is one of those ideas that sounds okay in theory, but in practice was just a complete mess. Like after they got done talking about The Last of Us 2, they went to, like you said, Justin, that weird round table discussion where it kind of reminded you of what you see from like Giant Bomb or IGN or GameSpot, where they'll have like that like conference, they'll have that like table discussion after a conference and be like, oh, so what do you guys think? Oh, well, I thought this, this and that. Sony had one of those for their own conference featuring their own employees, and they were all literally were like, so we just saw some The Last of Us 2, what do you guys think? Oh, I think it's this and that. And it's like, what are you even doing? Like, why are we watching this instead of the conference? Like, talk about anything, games, something, show off something. Like, the format was just so bad. It was just completely off and confusing. Like, from the standpoint of, now I've had some time to think about it. Originally, I thought a lot worse about Sony's conference as a whole, just because of how they actually structured the conference in general. But in terms of the actual games that they showed off and what they talked about and what they discussed, honestly, when they actually got down to brass tacks and started talking about the games, it really wasn't that bad a conference. I gotta be honest.
Right, but except for the fact that they didn't talk about the games. They after that whole transition thing, it was just kind of like a clip show of video, and then a recap video, and that was it. There was no
Right.
little breakdown in between of like a developer coming out and like talking about it, or almost negating the need to even have a conference for themselves that year.
Yeah, but they still showed off a lot of new gameplay
did.
footage.
No, they did.
We got new details about a lot of their new titles that are coming out. We learned a lot more about Death Stranding. We still don't know a goddamn thing about Death Stranding, but we know more than we did before this E3.
Yeah.
So I
let's
feel
go. Let's just go back to the beginning. So
yeah.
what was your
good idea.
impression of Last of Us Part 2?
I thought it was interesting, but I also was I was intrigued but also put off a little bit, just because like I felt like there was a weird tonal shift in that trailer. The gameplay itself looks looks pretty interesting. Like, looks very stealthy, very action heavy. Looks like it could be really cool. I actually I believe it or not, never picked up Last of Us, the first game, and I really want to. I want to download it. I'll probably get like the remastered edition and give that a playthrough. But I feel like just the trailer that they played was so jarring in terms of the tonal shift. Like, it starts out, oh, you're at this dance and everything's really nice and peaceful. Ellie from the first game, she's there and she's grown up, and then she's dancing with her girlfriend, and they're talking about like, oh, that guy over there is giving me weird looks, and it's like, oh, whatever, let's just let this moment be about us. They share a kiss, everything is all nice, and then it just kind of like transitions to Ellie stabbing some dude in the neck and just like twisting, and the guy's like, "Grr, grr," like, and blood is getting all, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, it was just such a jarring tone shift. It was just, and the rest of that trailer was just kind of like that, where the violence was like really, like, we talk about like games being violent and all that, but this was like really cruel, painful violence. Like, it was just seemed like everyone was like constantly in agony for one reason or another, and I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about all that.
Lou, what do you think?
Well, I have the opposite perspective because I played the first one and I really liked it. So I kind of understood the tonal shift a little bit, because here you have like this character who she kind of went on this huge journey, and it was very dangerous, and it took a lot of risk, and she learned to survive in this new post-apocalyptic world. And the idea is that, now that everything's kind of settled down, it looks like that she still feels like kind of like, I don't want to say like a wolf in a cage, but something kind of like that, where she just like, she still feels like she's on guard, and she can't
Right.
help but she can't turn that instinct off.
Like a PTSD kind of thing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
forget what you're saying.
No, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And
Yeah.
the after she did all that, all the action stuff and killing, and they go back to her, and she's with her potential love interest again, and she just gives a small smile. It's just like, it's creepy and it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this like killing machine, and she just like cracks a smile.
I played a bit of the first one, and the thing that surprised me the most of the new trailer was that the gameplay felt pretty similar or looked pretty similar to how everything worked in the first game. And, of course, that was one of the best things about the game. That's what really draws you into it and keeps you on the edge of your seat. And, enemies are coming at you from, every corner. And a lot of times in the first game, your best option is just to get the hell out of there. And it really looks like it's going to capture that just as well as the first one. And doesn't look too different, from the original game. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was excited. They brought back weapon crafting again, so you can make different weapons out of different parts you find in the environment, and you can stealth is a huge part in the game now again, like in the last one. But you can also transition from stealth to very aggressive playstyle at any point in time.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, and I'm excited to see what the story is going to be, because they didn't show off any of the the fungal infectious creatures in the
Right.
first one yet.
Fungal.
Hey, you fungo.
Hey, what's the matter for you? I'm eating brains
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, the whole plot is that the end of the whole world kind of changed after this fungus infection started, and it turned most people into zombies. But it didn't really focus on that as much as normal zombie games. So it's they fast forward and everything's kind of in shambles. So not only do you have to worry about the fungi, you have to worry about all the people scavenging and pillaging from different places. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now this one looks like it's got a cult following now. There's a cult of people doing
Right.
things.
All right, yeah. So that's Last of Us 2. Then after, the awkward break, we finally got back to the games, and they opened with Ghost of Tsushima, and that is quickly turning into one of my most anticipated games coming out.
Yeah.
That game looked
Same.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
The
looks so
fighting
good.
style, the combat looks awesome. I love the setting. Feudal Japan, that's just right up my alley. It looks like there's a pretty in-depth story. With looks like twists and turns, and in the teaser there was this betrayal, and it just looks so cool. That's my take. Lewis, you don't agree?
No, I do. I love Sucker Punch. I like the first two Infamous games, so I'm kind of interested to see what direction they're taking in this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I don't really have too much to add on to that. Ghost of Tsushima looks absolutely fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful game. You're having that fight at the end of that trailer with that person who was your friend at the beginning of the trailer, and the sun is glinting off your swords. Fire arrows are being launched at the two of you as you're fighting, and the field is burning around you as you're fighting, and it just looks so cool. It looks so atmospheric and badass, and I just want to get in there and I want to clash swords with someone. Yeah, it just looks amazing.
Unfortunately, we don't have a release date for that yet. They just basically say next year sometime. So my guess would be holiday next year if it sticks to that. But yeah, it's looking great. Really looking forward to that. They can take all the time they need, in my opinion. Okay. For the past 3 years, we have been treated with a very obscure and weird teaser video for Death Stranding. This year, we actually got gameplay? Question mark? Chris, you want to talk about that?
Sure, I'd love to talk about Death Stranding. I mean, you got, as we had established the last time we talked about Death Stranding, Norman Reedus, he's transporting this baby. It looks like he's transporting this little fetus baby who's kept in a little pack on his chest. He's transporting this little fetus across Norman Reedus transporting the fetus across this apocalyptic landscape. And there are these weird moments where, now, I had read a lot of interviews that Hideo Kojima gave about what the game is going to be and how it incorporates death as an actual gameplay mechanic into the game. Like, apparently you can still keep your progress, like, even after you die, and, like, even if you die, it won't necessarily be a game over. There's still some confusion as to how that actually will work. But we got treated to this new footage of Norman Reedus. He was lying on the ground. He was like lying on the ground again, I think. And we got another zoom in down his throat. And as we established last time, I am actually the fetus that lives in Norman Reedus's mouth. And I actually don't appreciate that this time we got a little shot of my little baby fetus ass.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have turned over like that.
I didn't know they were filming. I thought it was just like, oh,
if I didn't have to name the episode of this podcast E3 Recap 2018, I would absolutely name it Little Baby Fetus Ass.
I mean, that's all it was. Like, you saw the little baby fetus ass, and then it flipped around, and it was like, hey, and then you saw my face, and I was like, hey, everybody, it's me again, and then it, like, pouts right on out, and we went back to Death Stranding. Again, didn't really get too much more information as, you know, like a release date or firm details about what the game is about. We did get what Justin appropriately described as gameplay footage about the game, because it looked, we actually got shots of you traversing the landscape and like you crossing over like a very narrow pipe that was overlooking a little cavern, a ravine, and we did get some glimpses as to what the game is actually going to look like as you're playing it, but as to what the game's purpose is, as to what exactly it is you're supposed to be doing, we still know nothing at all about the game.
Right.
I feel like it's Kojima just being back on his bullshit, you know, like, oh, the game is about whatever you interpret it to be about, and I don't know.
Yeah, you pop in, when you finally buy Death Stranding, you pop in the CD, and a message comes on the screen that says, the game was inside you all along, and then the credits roll.
And then you can never, like, as soon as you put in the disc again, it's like, error, you know, cannot play disc. It's like, man, I'm glad I paid $60 for this.
I don't see the great mystery behind it. I'm pretty sure what this game is. It's
Really?
basically...
Oh, Lois solved the mystery.
Oh, wait a minute, this is a guy who's been playing Kingdom Hearts for his entire life. He can understand any cryptic story that's ever existed.
He can solve any mystery anywhere. So here you are, Press A repeatedly exclusive. We have the full story about Death Stranding right here. Lewis, take it away.
So Norman Reedus is basically a delivery man, and he has to go and walk through these huge fields delivering packages, and once in a while he has to run into invisible men who may or may not touch him in weird spots, and he has to avoid that, or else he creates a giant crater in the earth.
All right. The fabled frogmen.
This is so simple. I don't know why I couldn't put this together. Thank you, Lou.
And only children can see them, so that's why the baby is hooked up as a monitor, and that's why they have the little, like, flapping
camera thing, yeah. I just love the idea that he's a delivery man. Like, he'll knock on a door, and
I
people
love the
answer,
idea that the frogmen may or may not touch him in places.
like he'll knock on a door, and people answer, like, yeah, and he'll be like, yeah, who here ordered the fetus? And it's like, oh, I did. And it's like, oh, well, here you go. That's his thing. He just delivers fetuses to all over the apocalyptic world.
Well, there you have it. That is
Yep.
the story of Death Stranding, as told by Louis Tomasello.
Thank you.
This is not going to be wrong when the game is finally released. Let me see. So, the last major title that they talked about is a game that I was just kind of like, about. I'll admit, like, last year I was like, I can understand people being excited, sure. But as I'm seeing more and more of the game, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm picking up what they're putting down. And that, of course, is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I am with you, Chris. Wasn't crazy about it, and honestly, I'm still not crazy about it. It's just like it's not for me. I'm not really in superhero stuff that much at all. But it does look great, and I know people really love those Arkham style games. And even though this is a different developer, the gameplay still looks pretty similar to that. So all the Spider-Man lore is there. The trailer ends with him getting his ass kicked by like Rhino,
by the
Sparkman,
Sinister
and
Six,
Lizard Man, and Black and White Man, and Stompy.
Well, for someone who's not into Spider-Man, you know a lot of these names very well, Justin. No, those characters, they make up the Sinister Six, which individually they're just kind of like meh, throwaway enemies for Spider-Man to deal with. They're just kind of like whenever they show up, Spider-Man's just like, shoo, go away. But when they unite, the six of them, they become the Sinister Six, and together they're one of the tougher groups of enemies that Spider-Man has to face off from.
I just love how the trailer ended of like him on the ground and then like all six of them just like around him in a circle, just like kicking the shit out of him.
Yeah, that was a very bold move for them to kill off Spider-Man at the end of that trailer. Yeah, I don't know where they're going to take the game going forward from there, but yeah, that's very, very exciting. Yeah, I like the combat, like you said, Justin, reminds me a lot of the Arkham games where you could be Batman and you could just beat the shit out of random enemies. We actually saw some gameplay footage where Spider-Man was fighting some enemies on a rooftop, and one dude, he just kicked the hell out of him, and the dude went flying through like cardboard boxes on some trash, and he went over the side of the roof, and he just started plummeting, and Spider-Man just like started fighting other people on the rooftop. And I was just like, holy shit, Spider-Man just killed that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought Spider-Man didn't kill, but man, I was wrong.
It's the same thing that why Batman doesn't kill. He just throws batarangs at people. It doesn't kill them.
Man, I've watched enough Batman things over my life to know that is not true. Batman kills all the time. Batman is Gotham's worst serial killer.
Yeah, I'm excited for the open world aspect of that game because I was watching like the gameplay footage of it, and it looks a lot like Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 2 was like the best one.
Yeah, I remember that. That was very impressive first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being able to sling around the city and go wherever and do different missions. Yeah, that looks really, really awesome. I remember playing the Spider-Man games once upon a time, and that ability to just go around and do whatever was just that was the best. I love the thought of being able to go into the city, and it looks gorgeous. I mean, that's the prevailing theme of all these games that we've seen, not just at Sony's conference, but at all these games, is just the graphical output that we've seen. The lighting effects have just taken such a step up in recent years. I mean, these games just look beautiful, and Spider-Man is absolutely no exception. Let me see, is there anything else at Sony's conference that really stood out for you guys?
Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2!
How could we forget?
Hell yeah! How could we forget about Resident Evil 2?
Oh my
what
god.
an awesome looking remake of Resident Evil 2. I mean, the graphics look incredible.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I've been watching nonstop footage on that game. It looks
Yep.
beautiful.
Yep. We got my boy Leon coming back into the fold.
Yeah. Babyface Leon.
Babyface Leon, man.
Oh man. The trailer doesn't even do it completely justice. Like if you watch the gameplay footage, it's so much better cuz he goes into dark corners and he gets turns around a corner and there's like a zombie biting him but in the back or something, or moments where he's just really looking into a corpse and he sees like the face just like completely torn open and you can see like all the blood and gore on it, and I was just
I saw that clip where he was just like he lifted the guy's face up and his jaw was like falling down on his chest, and Leon was just like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
and it's scary. They really went into like the horror aspect of it.
Which is good. Which is good. That's that's Resident Evil returning to its roots. They started going back there with Resident Evil 7 last year, which I still have been completely unable to play due to my cowardice. But the games had slowly but surely been inching towards like an action theme over the last few installments before then, and it was very nice and refreshing to see them go back to, okay, what made Resident Evil so good and so memorable? It was the horror elements. So for them to be going back to their roots, and especially with the new RE2 remake, it's very, very refreshing to see.
Yep. And we can briefly talk about that game Control that got announced by 505 Games.
Yes.
It looks like you're playing as a woman with some sort of telekinesis and psychic powers, where you can kind of pick up crates and use your force abilities to kind of throw them around the room and knock out enemies with them. We didn't see too much of it, but it looks really cool, and I'm excited for that new IP to come.
Yeah, it's also, I think Remedy is doing it. They're the same people who did Quantum Break.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would explain some of psychic stuff.
Yeah, they're always. I think they're to describe them, they're a lot like David Cage is for PlayStation. He's the cinematic guy, and he just likes to make movies on video games.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, guys, this brings us to our last conference of E3. That, of course, was Nintendo's Direct. That was on Tuesday.
Yes.
We knew there was going to be a very heavy Smash Brothers influence going into it, and they absolutely delivered on that.
I feel like a little too much.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I kind of had this realization of Nintendo doesn't really treat E3 like the rest of the companies treat E3, right? The rest of the companies are like, all right, this is the one thing of the year where we kind of show off everything that we got coming down the pipeline, lots of announcements and stuff. And, ever since the Nintendo Direct format kind of started, they don't really do that anymore. They kind of just treat it as a Nintendo Direct. They have a couple during the year, and this is just one of them. Because if you remember, some of the previous Nintendo Directs, they announced a lot of stuff on there that we didn't even know was coming. There was one, they had a couple formats of Nintendo Direct where there was a kind of a list of all the things that they're going to go through, and they kind of just talk about it a little bit, and it goes to the next one. And, some of those Directs are 30, 40 minutes long, and they cover a lot of stuff in there. So, plus we had that whole Pokemon announcement a couple weeks ago where Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu were unveiled, and, Pokemon Quest was unveiled. So I think they're just taking more of this approach of spreading stuff out over the year, which, in terms of E3 is kind of a bummer, but in terms of the grand scheme of things, you're seeing new stuff spaced out more evenly instead of just all getting it at this one time. So, I guess that's kind of nice to do it that way, too. And, there was a lot of stuff. We could start with stuff that we didn't see at this Direct, right? We surprisingly did not see anything about this Yoshi game that was shown last year's Direct.
Right.
and I'm hearing rumors online that there's some trouble in development, and then it might be getting pushed back to later next year.
That's what I was hearing too.
Yeah, and that might be, Nintendo might be kind of annoyed by that because they were kind of marketing Yoshi as a big 2018 release because they don't really have anything coming out this year, much.
Technically, they do now. With Smash coming out December.
Well, true, they have Smash Bros, but what else? They had Kirby, which was a new game. They had Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which is a port.
Mm-hmm.
They have Tennis Aces coming out.
They do have Tennis?
Next week, as of our recording, they're coming out. Next month, they've got Octopath Traveler, which is not a first party game, but it's still a major release, major console exclusive release.
Very true
for them. So they've got something going. For the foreseeable future. I mean, that's how they did it last year. They had like a major new release every month until we hit the major season during the holidays and the fall.
They did not show Animal Crossing.
Regrettably.
I know this hurts a lot of people.
You've made your views on Animal Crossing clear in the past, you monster, you
Look,
worm, you absolute slug.
I think they're still riding this mobile Animal Crossing out for a while. Maybe to a lot of people's, like, much to grin of that, right? But maybe next year, guys? I don't know what to tell you, really.
Yeah. I mean, part of the issue, too, is, like, it's not even just the development of the game, but it's the translation involved in the game. Especially now, like, when Animal Crossing was first debuted, you had, like, the major territories were Europe, North America, and Japan. So you really only had to translate the game for those territories. But now, like, video games are on a much wider, more global scale than they were before. Like, if you want to release a game that is as text-heavy as Animal Crossing and as contextual-heavy as Animal Crossing, where you can have different characters saying different things at different times of the day, during different seasons, under different conditions, and you have to translate all those lines into all sorts of different languages nowadays, that takes a lot of time. That takes a ton of time. I want to think that Nintendo is not being like, they hear everyone and they're working behind the scenes to make an Animal Crossing because they have to. This is one of the bigger things that Nintendo is getting clamored for from fans worldwide. There's the two main things. Where's our Animal Crossing for the Switch? And 2, where's our Mother 3 for North America? Those are the two big things that they hear from fans.
A lot of times, I find myself thinking, do they even listen to what the fans want, right? Because it seems like a lot of times they just are not putting out things that we are clamoring for. But with the surprise reveal of Ridley in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Exactly.
That is a huge fan want, and I did not ever think we would ever see that in that game, and that kind of blew me away to actually see that they did that. They knew what everybody wanted. They took him. They made him a character, and he's a tough character to make. I mean, he's supposed to be much bigger than everybody. They made it work for the fans, and that is, inspiring, right?
Where is Waluigi?
Where is this trophy?
Where is Waluigi?
You know what? I love Waluigi, but I'm okay with him not being in the game. There's already so much Mario representation. You would have Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Bowser, like Wario. Come on, like that's a lot.
I guess, but where is Waluigi?
I will point that to your argument that for a long time the big problem with Nintendo was they didn't have a lot of third-party support. Now they're getting all this third-party support, and people are wondering where's all the first-party games. Well, it's probably because they're trying to help focus on third-party stuff a little bit more in order for the Switch to become a little more successful.
Which I'm fine with. I think they should do that.
But And your other point, why didn't they just say we're making an Animal Crossing game and it's in the works? Because they did that for Fire Emblem when the Switch got first announced, and we finally get to see something from that.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
Let's let's talk about that. Good segue, Lewis.
Yeah, great.
They before they went crazy in talking about every little nook and cranny about the new Smash Brothers game coming out. Nintendo did detail a lot of other games that were coming out soon, including Fire Emblem. What is it? Three Heroes.
Three Houses.
Three Houses. Yes. So that's the new Fire Emblem game that's coming out, and I gotta say that game looks gorgeous and it looks incredibly fun. What say you?
Oh my god! So I'm already excited about it because now they're really adding some new stuff to it, where it looks like every character now, instead of being like an individual person, is like a person with their own little army situated with them. And that's so cool because it feels like now you're in an actual like battle with an army, and I guess there's attacks and stuff that can reduce another person's army to a smaller margin than the others, and I think that's cool. And it looks like there's like fighting formations, and like they're bringing back like the partner battle, the partner attacks where you have the two people focusing on one enemy together. But I think the big thing was like they're really bringing back like they're taking the free roaming aspect from like Echoes, but instead of doing a dungeon, it's like all within like open world environments. So like you have like the castle, you could just roam around the castle and talk to people, and it's all rendered in that same graphic look that they use in like the cutscenes.
On a console in 1080p, like HD visuals. I'm super excited for that. You know, I was really hoping they would show some Fire Emblem stuff, and they did. And you know, I am just really excited to play that whenever it comes. Spring of next year, I think, is when it comes out, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get like a Nintendo Direct or something when closer.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always want to hype up their new releases with the Direct. Let me see. We got a little bit more information about the new Pokemon games that are coming out. I just want to declare right here and right now that I am Team Eevee.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I am already drawing the battle lines. I am 100% Team Eevee.
So I wanted to ask you guys if you heard this. So the game is going to cost $60.
Right.
Do you know how much that Pokeball peripheral is going to cost?
It's going to be an extra $40, but you can get a bundle for $90.
It's $50, and you can get it bundled for $100.
Oh, okay. I misread the prices.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot of money.
An insane amount of money.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I've already got a pre-order on that bundle, so.
Oh, do you? There you go.
All right.
Because that's going to be so limited. People are going to buy that out so quickly. And then people are going to be like, well, I want the bundle with the Pokeball. And you're going to be like, sorry. You're going to have to find one from a scalper who's selling it for $200.
It's an interesting concept. I think the visuals look great. I like that it's going back to the Kanto region in the first game. You know, they're definitely trying to get a lot of new players in. And, of course, they're trying to get that Pokemon Go crowd to get in, you know, to get in on Pokemon. I don't like how you capture the Pokemon with just flicking your wrist kind of thing, like the Pokemon Go style. It's kind of a bummer, but for something different, I think it's interesting. But I'm still holding out for that new, you know, Pokemon next gen Pokemon game that's supposed to be coming out next year.
Right. No, I think it looks really cool. I think fans of the franchise are going to be really satisfied by what they see from Let's Go Pikachu / Eevee and Pokemon Quest and everything else. I wouldn't necessarily drop that kind of cash on the Pokeball peripheral. I feel like for what it does and what it is, that's a lot of money for what you're actually getting. Like, you can store Pokemon and take it with you places, and that's cool and all, but not $50 cool. Let me see. They also showed off this game, Daemon. It's like Daemon Ex Machina.
Yeah,
It looks like a mech game. That looked super awesome. It's like
and they opened the presentation with that. I thought that was really cool to see something like brand new like that.
Yeah, I found out the art style is done by the Fire Emblem guy who does the Awakening and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can actually see it in the you can customize your character and you can see like the models and stuff within it. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
But yeah,
excited for that. Do we know who's developing that game?
that's a good question.
Not off the top of my head, no. I can look that up real quick.
It might not have been announced yet either. But Overcooked 2. I am super excited for that. That was a really nice surprise. The original Overcooked is so much fun. What a great multiplayer game. Its only problem was that it did not have online play. Overcooked 2 now has fixed that problem. It's got complete online play. It's still local and local co-op as well if you want to do that. It's got new stages, new characters, and it's supposed to be running like the first Overcooked didn't run too well on the Switch, but they had improved it over time and it got better. And this is supposed to be just looking great. So I'm really excited for Overcooked 2. That was a really cool surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Likewise. That looks like a lot of fun. Just same old Overcooked gameplay brought together for an awesome sequel.
They announced a DLC pack for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I think you would be crazy to get. If someone can play 150 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then however long the next this DLC is, I mean, good on you. That's great. But that is just way too much content for me to handle.
What happened to it looks like, you remember how you were complaining about the art style in that game?
Yes.
Well, how this one looks like it's entirely different. And
really? I don't know, man. It kind of looked the same to me, and it still had the same problems that kind of really made me angry and turned off of that game.
The characters, the girls don't have the giant chests like the other ones do. But
watch it again, okay? Because there's one part where they directly zoom in on her chest. It's just, come on. Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know. I felt like this should have been what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 should have been, as opposed to what we got in the movie.
Yeah, from what I heard, it is a prequel, I think. It's like a whole new, like, game, expansion. It's not just like a new area or, like, new gear or something like that. So,
right.
I mean, the content's there, and then for the fans of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you got plenty to play, so enjoy that. And I can't really think of anything else that they had an indie sizzle reel, I think, right, where they showed off some indie games that are coming.
Yeah, it was like indie mixed with other developing games, and I like how one of them was DBZ Fighters. They just threw in
that
there.
was so weird that they just kind of threw that in there for like a second. Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight is also.
Right.
I mean, it's out for the Switch right now as we speak.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite games that I played last year, and now I'm kind of like, I'm kicking myself because I wish I could have played it on the Switch, because I feel like the Switch is the perfect platform to have played Hollow Knight on. But now, it's too late. I already bought Hollow Knight. And I can't buy it again. That's silly. So
I mean, you could buy it again.
No, Lewis. I'm not that guy. I'm not that kind of person.
Come on,
that game, Killer Queen is coming to Switch. That looks really cool. Like a really fun multiplayer game. And surprise reveal that Octopath got my octopus confused. The Splatoon 2 Octo expansion was unveiled at the last Nintendo Direct. It was supposed to come out in like July. They actually bumped it up, and it came out 2 nights ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it, and I started playing it, and it is awesome so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'll talk more about that next week, but really cool to have that nice little surprise that, it's actually coming out tonight. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
They also announced Fortnite for the Switch.
How could we forget? That is a big deal.
Yes, that was a very, very big deal. We've got Fortnite, we've got Paladins. These are two very popular titles that had been long rumored as coming to the Nintendo Switch. And I mean, Fortnite, it was kind of an inevitability that it would be coming to the Nintendo Switch. It's the most popular gaming franchise out there right now. It's out on pretty much every system there is under the planet. I'm surprised that's not out for the Amazon Echo.
Right.
And yeah, so it coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is the fastest growing console out there right now, is really a foregone conclusion, and they just confirmed that.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I still want to download that and give that a shot. I know Nick has been playing Fortnite on the Switch, so it'll be interesting to hear what his thoughts are.
Yeah, and that's a free download as well. So definitely check that out. And, as you stated earlier, Chris, about 75% of the Direct was all about Super Smash Brothers. We got a complete in-depth look of the whole game, what it's going to be. So we were debating whether or not it's going to be a port, whether it's going to be a new game. And weirdly, it's kind of neither. It's like in the middle. It is a lot of assets from the original game, but everything seems to be kind of updated with just little touches here and there. We talked about the new characters. We talked about the Inkling. We talked about Ridley. Sakurai kind of went through like almost everybody and like said what's new here, what's new there, new outfit, new move, whatever. He announced that every single character that's ever been in a Smash game will be in this one. That means Ice Climbers are back, Snake is back, Pichu is back, Wolf is back. So it's just a really big roster. And yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm very glad I didn't buy any DLC for Smash on the Wii U and 3DS when that was all coming out. Because
same here.
Because now it's like, instead of having to have bought all the DLC when it came out, now the new Smash is coming out, and hey, all these characters are just going to be out and available. Like, you'll have to unlock them through gameplay, but they're going to be there. And, you just have to find them eventually. And I'm like, that's cool, but, man, I feel bad for anyone who dropped the money to actually download these characters. Like, you're going to get Cloud, Bayonetta, all those characters that you had to buy. Now they're just going to be included in the retail price for this game. Yeah, I don't... I'm excited for the new game, but I just kind of, my heart goes out to those people who drop the extra cash for the characters. I do want to, I'm very excited that they revamped Princess Zelda's character design and made her the Link Between Worlds design. And she just looks so, different. She just seems happy. She's just she's just having fun, and she's, giddy, she's, doing a lot of the same moveset, but she's actually enjoying herself out there, and that design is just adorbs. It is completely
really
adorable. She seemed so serious and blank faced in all the other editions of Smash Brothers that had come out, but now this game came out and she's smiling and happy, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I can dig this. Zelda's actually enjoying herself.
So what you're saying is you rather have her happy than with her constant resting bitch face all the time?
Yes, Lewis, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'll admit I was kind of burnt out on Smash. I'm happy a new one was coming out, but I was just kind of over it. I just wasn't really feeling it anymore. But Nick was texting me, and he was watching the Smash Brothers tournament that was at E3, and he's like, this is really making me want to play again. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. But so I put it on anyway, and yeah, at the end of it, I was kind of pumped. I was like, you know what? I will always love this game, and I am excited to actually sit down and play this again. And I really hope that we can all kind of get together and play it. Online's great, but nothing beats local co-op for Smash Brothers.
I'm
So,
with you 100% there.
yeah, I really hope that we can all get together sometimes and to sit down and play it. Here's something not cool though. So they are releasing GameCube controllers again. A lot of people like to play with GameCube controllers. I actually got, when I bought Smash Bros. For the Wii U, I also bought the GameCube controller adapter and I think a GameCube controller. And when I heard that the GameCube controllers were out, I was like, oh great, I can use my GameCube controller on a new one. It turns out they are releasing a new GameCube controller adapter that only works for the Switch. So basically, the one that I have for the Wii U is not going to work. And if I want to play with the GameCube controller, I have to buy another GameCube controller adapter for the Switch.
Oh, that's shitty.
That
is sucks.
Ridiculous.
Oh, that's garbage.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure that the old Wii U one won't work somehow, but it very much seems that way. That's how they're kind of framing it. Because the old Wii U one had 2 USB plugs that had to plug in to the back of the Wii U, whereas there's only one USB port on the Switch. So I'm not sure if maybe I can get an adapter that will make it work or something. I don't know, but that is just a huge bummer, and I will not buy a new one.
You can bet that that's going to be a limited quantity.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing too, because it was so hard to get that for the original one for the Wii U. So
yeah, see, my thing is I love the old GameCube controller. That to me is one of my favorite controllers that has been out there. I know a lot of people are why are the buttons so different size? Shut up. But the controller was it was absolutely fine. That was also several generations ago at this point. It's time to move on. It's time to play Smash Brothers with a different controller aside from the game. It is possible. I have won matches with controllers that are not the GameCube controller. You don't have to have the GameCube controller. I know people want to have the GameCube controller, especially for the esports tournaments where you're fighting people online or at local tournaments or wherever. But you can win with different controllers. You can play with something else. You do not have to have the GameCube controller.
Yeah, and especially since the wired controllers now are not even that expensive, and you can just invest in a wired controller for $30, and
right.
they play. It looks just like a normal pro controller, so I don't see the value in needing a GameCube controller. I can see why people want it, because you got the hardcore Melee fans out there who can't play with any other controller, which is kind of lame. But I'm with Chris. I used to play with just the Wii remote tilted to the side, and I used to win games with that.
Yep. one of my fondest memories was I was over at some guy's house. It's one of Butch's friends, and we were playing Smash Brothers against each other, and I actually won as Yoshi because he had 3 GameCube controllers and he handed them out to different people, and he was like, oh, sorry, all I have is this one Wii remote that's left, and I don't know where the nunchuck is. So I had to play using the worst possible control scheme, the Wii remote on its side. So I was like, all right, great, I'll deal with this best I can. I actually won that tournament. I actually managed to come out on top. That was one of my finest achievements.
You say that's the worst control scheme, but I actually liked it better than with the nunchuck, which is weird, I know, but I thought that was better than
I just like having the analog. I just like having the analog stick,
Mm.
It really impressed me how they made them all work, even with limited button schemes and everything. But yeah, so there you go. I think we've covered pretty much everything from all the big conferences of E3 2018. In general, what do you guys think about this E3?
I thought it was overall a pretty good E3. It wasn't the greatest E3. I felt like last year I came out of E3 feeling a lot more hyped and a lot more excited about what games were coming down the pipe. that's not to say though that this was a bad E3. It's just that I felt like a lot of the announcements were not as overwhelmingly like, oh my god, like this is amazing as it was last year. There were, as always, a few missteps, a few misfires, but overall, I don't think it really detracted too much from the tournament. I feel like, as is rumored, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to start gearing up towards new console releases in the future, which we might start hearing about next year. So that may be why this year's E3 was a little more tepid than prior years. But all in all, I still like the conference. I feel like there was still enough here to get excited about.
Yeah, I agree, and I thought this was an okay year for E3. I think a lot of the hype buildup was probably why it ended up being like as met as it is now. Like people are just like kind of just digesting all of the stuff they took in, and they decided, well, it was okay. But I will say the monkey's paw reference just keeps ringing in my ear. Like, like we got what we asked for, and it
but
was.
at what cost?
But at what cost?
I think it was a pretty good E3. I think there was a lot of great games I'm really looking forward to. We got a lot of release dates that we were wanted. Biggest absence of E3. I don't know where the hell Red Dead 2 was. I can't believe there was not a single thing about it at this E3.
Yeah.
Rockstar, I guess, is really playing their hands close to their chest, which is fine. But I was really hoping to see something from that. But, what can you do?
Right.
Yeah, overall, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of games that I'm really looking forward to. A lot of them coming out sooner than I thought. And yeah, it's probably one of the greatest gaming times of the year, and I'm so glad we get to talk about it on this show.
What was your game of E3? I'll be honest. Mine was Cyberpunk 2077. Everything that I heard about the game, everything that people have talked about the game and said what you can do, what the game is, it's going to have like that first-person shooter RPG type gameplay. It sounds absolutely amazing. Going in, I wasn't as hyped, but now I'm like really, really, really excited for the game. I feel like for me, that game benefited most from this E3, so that's my personal pick for game of E3.
For me, like, it's a toss-up, but I'll just go back to the article I wrote about the other day. But Tunic, Starlink, and Ghost of Tsushima were probably the three games that got me most excited, and I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil 2
Yeah.
remake was my highlight for
Nice.
this E3. It was a complete surprise for me. I forgot about it for the longest time, and then they brought it back, and I was so thankful and excited for it. So, and I guess if we were going to do like a top three, it'd probably be either Smash and Kingdom Hearts timed for 2 and 3. So,
Yep. Fair enough.
There you go. All right. Yeah, but another E3 in the books. Another good one. Yeah, can't wait to check out all these games in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Lou, thanks for being on and sharing your opinion and being able to finally taste that sweet, sweet, goofy cake.
Oh yeah, finally. It's a relief that I finally get a release date, but I'm holding my breath as well because I know there's something's gonna happen. They're gonna push it back like 2 or 3 times. Like they had that big reveal for Final Fantasy 15 for just the announce date, and then they pushed it back anyway. So
Yeah.
anything could happen at this point.
That's square.
And that's all for this week. Remember, Press Play repeatedly posts new episodes Tuesdays on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page or on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113. Justin is at oaf7724. And Lewis is at Louie, Loueyt, Animation. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's parpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check us out on our new website, pressarepeatedly.com. That's all for this week. Chris, Justin, and Lewis signing off. And remember to roll your eyes and groan during the middle of Sony's press conference. Press A repeatedly.